right.
Promptness is averts. Is this thing on?
Go for it, please.
Okay. Welcome back to day 2 of game day live at DFI49. For those of you, the millions of viewers out there, I'm Chris Woods, my co-host Sebastian Lobo-Guerrero, who I don't think at this point anyone doesn't know who he is. We're starting off today with our 2 guests, Sam Sternberg with Dan Brown Associates and Adam Hacker with HDR, and they join us in their capacity as the technical chairs for DFI 50 next year. Gentlemen, how we doing?
Doing good.
Good.
All right.
Thanks so much for having us today.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're having a cozy,
We are. I mean,
cozy time up here.
You know, I don't remember any interview that we have been like.
You're hanging off the end of the table over there.
At this point, I'm also on the exhibit.
you can say I'm just fat, Sebastian. It's
Well,
okay.
yeah,
I'm-
It's all right.
It's good. It's
There you go.
really resilient for winter, I'd say.
Oh.
This is also not in. We also placed 1st through 4th in the 5K yesterday morning. So trust us.
Last.
That's it. So, gentlemen, why don't we start out? Why don't you guys tell us a little bit about yourselves, your background, and then we'll go from there.
Sure. Sam Sternberg. Obviously, we've kind of here on the just kind of the role for program chair next year, and really honored to do that. I've been in the industry for over 20 years, through a lot of different things in the Southeast and down towards south part of the Southwest, I guess, a little bit.
Mhm.
So work primarily in transportation work, but always been a big part of DFI and some other organizations, and it's a great organization just for our industry and bringing. The thing that I love about it is how it brings contractors and the engineers together so we can actually come to really good solutions and learn from each other, rather than doing those things in a vacuum. And so really honored about DFI 50. I mean, it's an incredible milestone. It really sunk into me though, is next year when we do DFI 50, I will be 49 years old, which means this conference has been going on for 1 year longer than I've been alive.
Yeah, there you
And
go.
I'm like, wow, I am starting to sink in just a little bit. So, but really honored just to be able to look at the past and, with DFI 50, I think the focus is going to be looking at who's come before us and what's been done before us in the history of deep foundations. And then not only being able to look at that, but then also look to where we're going. And I think it's going to be really good, and it's going to be really exciting, and looking forward to everybody being there.
I'm really
Excellent.
excited. I'm really excited. I mean, we were talking about it at the winter planning meeting, right?
Mhm.
Like this side of like going to the history and remembering, like, because I mean, I don't want it to sound bad, but it's like there is a lot of stuff that we don't know.
Right.
Like I've been a DFI member, I don't know, decades, but like the history, like how it started and things like that. It's just been a long time, and I think I'm criticizing anyone, but I'm just saying, like, we haven't really done a good job so far of remembering that.
Well,
I
when we
think-
talk history, you're a big fan of saying let's take it all the way back.
Yes.
Why don't we talk about the history of our second guest? Because when we
Yes.
introduce 2 people, it's
I-
generally polite to let both of them introduce themselves,
I see
right?
Mike-
Before it becomes a Sebastian show. So
I
Adam,
know it sounds unfair because we do also a lot of stuff with Sam on AGP and other things.
That's it. That's it.
And feel free to turn Sebastian's microphone off.
Don't worry.
That's about the only way.
A hook will come,
Yes.
yeah, a hook will come in from over there and kind of, yeah.
So Adam Hacker, I'm with HDR. I'm actually recently our dams and levees civil works lead for our area in Kentucky, Tennessee, and Arkansas.
All right.
So I've been in the industry about 14, 15 years, and was with another firm for a while longer, and then joined HDR about 3 years ago. And done a lot more of explorations, a lot with dams and levees in my early part of my career, resident engineer out on the site. But as I've been with HDR more, getting more into more heavy civil works projects, getting more into complicated deep foundation work. And
All right.
so that's kind of piqued my interest more to get more involved with DFI. I always had some interest to get there, just never had the opportunity. And so this year I'm getting a chance to speak on a project, and then I got my arm twisted, threw my name in the pot, and here I am as a co-chair. So it trial by fire, I guess. We'll see how it goes.
That's it. Well, look, Sebastian and I do have firsthand experience as conference chair, technical chair. You're in good hands
Yeah.
with Jamie and with Angie and the whole team. But we were talking about it a little bit during, our pre-production meeting. You know, when we were trying to assess who in the crowd is actually Secret Service right now. You guys, look, I get it. You guys are early on in the process. We're still in the middle of DFI49, so we're not there yet. But it is a big opportunity, the 50th anniversary. So as you guys have started to wrap your head around this, like what is it that you guys are at this point trying to aim towards in terms of accomplishing with DFI 50?
That's a great question. First and foremost, to satisfy John Wallace,
Yeah, that's it.
whatever he wants to do. No, in all seriousness, I think it's what Sebastian kind of hits on a little bit. The appreciation for where we've been. The overarching theme. I mean, 50 years is a milestone.
Yeah.
We celebrate 50 years of marriage, on the anniversaries. And I mean, this is a big deal. And it's been done over many, many years, and a lot of effort goes into every year, this organization and these conferences. So I think it's, a greater appreciation for what we've done in the past. And then also hopefully showing where we're going in the future a little bit.
Yeah. Sitting in the committee meeting this morning for DFI Journal, it started coming up about, because every aspect of the organization is looking at what contributions they're going to make to the 50th anniversary year. And so names started coming up that I think, to Sebastian's point, like I've not heard that name before, right? There's a lot
I feel bad about it.
to learn here.
Yes.
Well, look, I mean, it's right. I mean, someone did the math. It was like, well, everyone's president is president for 2 years. So we've had like 25 presidents, right? But
I think it's also the way that the DFI originated, right? Because
Mhm.
if we go back and we all serve different roles from ASC, Geo Institute. Geo Institute was started more like the academic one, and we all went through different universities and things like that. But we kind of know, like, if we talked to Sagi and Beck, we knew those names before we even came into professional society.
Right.
DFI started from a contractors association. It's a very different background, right? It's a very different starting point. And I love history, and I do a lot of history searches. And when I look back in the history of DFI, if you look what they were doing on the first conference, it's completely different than what it's today. And I think it's something that needs to be celebrated, and those characters need to be celebrated. I think most of us, you guys correct me if I'm wrong, we know the last 20 years pretty well. We know the presidents in the last 20 years.
Right.
But we start going back in the 90s, 80s and stuff. There is a lot that we don't know, right? You may know something for the company that you work at, and they had somebody or something like that. It's funny. I mean, even like with Rudy that we're interviewed later. I mean, Rudy was president of the DFI, but it was a long time ago. And people that are new don't even knew that, right?
Yeah.
So to me, like the fact that we have the service, that I mean, it's been for years, but it's right to always go back to that. So I'm really excited. I'm just putting all the pressure on the two.
That's it.
To bring the history back, right? I mean, to make it exciting, interesting, and educate.
And speaking of that, I heard a wonderful rumor in our production meeting that
Yeah.
Chris is going to write a 200-page book on the history of the DFI. I like that.
No,
I think that
no,
would be great.
A picture with him, and he can write it.
No.
I think it's a fabulous idea.
no. There was a couple members of the journal editorial board that could not make the meeting this morning. But when they emailed in, they said, "Let me know what the takeaways are, what we can do." So Armin Studline, he's a professor at Oregon State. He I don't think he's aware yet. I don't think Ann sent him an email, but he volunteered this morning to write the 200-page book. Yeah, he just doesn't know that yet.
yeah.
No, so we'll let him know. So all right, so it's you joke about John, wanting to make sure that carrying out his vision, but you will, as technical chairs, as program chairs, have your opportunity to put your stamp on this thing, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
What are we working with right now in terms of themes or vision for some of the keynote? I know we're early on, but what are your kind of
He's working his way into a keynote to speak. So
Yeah.
don't worry.
Yeah.
You don't have to be
No.
into him.
no?
I think as we've seen from the abstract posting that's come out, it's asking for, right? It's celebrating the past 50 years, and it's wide open, right?
Right,
And
okay.
that whole abstract. So it's going to be really interesting to see as we get the abstracts in, right, from that side of the table, besides the keynote, is really where is this going to actually kind of lean itself towards, right?
And then your challenge becomes, how do you group those into sections? Exactly. Yep.
And it's and also too of just there's probably a little bit of pressure on the whole group to say, we got to do something a little bit more because it's the 50th year, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's
Yeah,
going to
yeah.
expect that.
The pressure
So-
will be there. Yep.
So that, I think, you know, so I think that's going to fall on the keynotes side of things, is really identifying who's that right fit to make that kind of
I think
extra
that
step.
part for you guys is gonna be the most fun because, okay, so you work with what you have, right? So what
Yeah.
you mentioned, the papers, people send the papers, people send the abstracts.
Yeah.
So you have to work with what you got and define the tracks and things like that. But the part that you have a lot of freedom is on the keynote. Because
Right,
that's where you
right.
can, like with
Yeah.
Chris, we wanted to do a lot of great things, and Hannah, we wanted to see like space exploration, geotechniques,
Yep.
and we wanted to see like local history of museums and things like that. And that's when you really get, you know, to be a little more free in the sense of you can contact whoever you want.
Right.
Yeah.
right.
And see, I mean, obviously, some people will ask you large amount of money that we cannot cover, right?
Yeah.
Well, and that's, you're hitting on some of the exact same things that we've had issues with. You know, we kind of bounced around a few ideas in one session.
Yeah.
And, you know, because it's going to be in Nashville, so everybody's thinking, oh,
Yeah.
let's get a country
Yes.
music star. Or, you know,
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's what we're doing. I'm just saying, you know,
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
started throwing around ideas, and we've even thrown around ideas of how do we want the theme to go?
Yes.
Yeah.
Just, you know, overarching how we group all of those different technologies
Right.
from the past and future in together into maybe a, you know, progression or something like that on days.
Yeah.
It's still wide open.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it's where obviously in October, right? It's a year away, but you will have the time, and you know, like the stress disappears. I think for us was in the beginning was more stress than anything, but then when things start coming to place, the enjoyment really start coming out.
Yeah.
And that's when you have a lot of fun.
I never really felt stressed. Like we were talking about, we're
Well,
like,
it's good that you did, because I
well, we had, no, well, we had the one guy, you know, Chris Zachney, they came to talk about sending rockets to
yes.
Jupiter
Uh-huh,
that we were
and
talking about.
doing-
He was like the 8th guy in line because every time we'd run into a roadblock and no, talk to this person and this person
Yes.
would be talk. So that was like we were, you know, like maybe like April, May,
yeah,
and we
yeah,
still
that
didn't
was
have
the-
that last spot lined up. So that was the one thing that was like, all right, this is like one of the key things, and we still don't have this.
Yes, I know that.
Right.
that
You
was
know.
the plan B was just go and put space pictures, and Chris and I talk about planets.
Yeah,
That's it.
yeah.
So,
So that, I'm glad that didn't happen because no one wants to listen to that.
Well, the one I always loved was when you're in charge of people reviewing papers, and then you get to the last day and you're getting emails that they haven't reviewed the papers, and then all of
Yeah.
a sudden it's like, hey, can you review this? You know, it's due, and they're like, oh man, I'm sorry, I got
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you know, you have those kind of fun things and stressful things a little bit, but no, I agree. I mean,
well, you see,
there's so
you
many
have to
good
deal with
people.
that because clearly I was the one dealing with this stress. I
Oh,
was just
yeah.
looking
I can
at
see
the
that.
Pictures he was gonna take.
I can
and
see
all
that with Chris.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. It was really good. No, that's awesome. That's awesome. I mean, that's really cool. I mean, one request that I absolutely have is we need to do like a special pin, like a gold pin, 50 years DFI. That has to be
Yeah.
like something that has to be.
I'm sure for a nominal donation to the home team, we could probably make that happen.
Yes.
You know. So
No, but I mean, I think one reference that I have on all this is the DFI magazine years ago, probably 10 years ago. We did a pretty cool issue that it was history of foundations. So it was going into like the history of cast piles, the history of soil nails, and I can envision this conference kind of like starting from that, right? But now going exponential and showing a lot of great history of DFI, history
Yeah.
of the technologies that we have, where we have been, where we are, and what's the future, right?
Yep,
I think
yeah,
that's-
absolutely.
because I think that's another part of the conference that is going to be exciting. It's not only the history, right? Because you
Yeah.
cannot just get stuck. Like when we were saying yesterday on the keynote speaking, like if you get too comfortable, right, it's not going to be interesting. So that will be the next part, which is where are we going? And I'll just give an example that I was last week in Medellin, in Colombia, doing a DFI event there, and we are talking about helical piles and micropiles, right? And I was talking about now we're doing micropiles that we easily put 600 kips, right? Helical piles that we can put 700 kips.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's not what Lisi thought when he invented a micropile, right? So it's like our evolution of the industry goes like that. So it's important to understand the history, but it's probably even more important. It's like, where are we going, right? And,
Right,
and,
right.
Yeah.
and how
Absolutely.
does this tie all together? So I think the conference will be a space for that too. It's like reflecting on what we're doing, where we're going, and, you know, what can we do better?
Well, we've seen it with this conference this year, right? Of cutoff walls have been a big topic
Yes.
and that's, I mean, back in the 70s, the Corps was doing it then. It's completely changed in the capabilities you can do now. Cutoff walls is completely wide open, right?
Yeah.
It's more
Mhm.
accepted and
Yes.
you can put them in, you can take them to pretty extreme depths and have tolerances being met pretty easily to meet those requirements. So.
Yeah, and all that is super exciting, right?
Oh,
Because
yeah,
when
absolutely.
you're doing those projects, it's like, man, are we pushing this?
Yeah.
hard? You know?
Excellent. Well, gentlemen, Look, we appreciate you joining us. In advance, we appreciate the effort that, we know you're going to put in over the next year to make DFI 50.
That sounds really ominous.
50. No, look, I'm speaking from a position of knowing what
Absolutely.
seat you guys are in right now and the work that it's going to take, and so, but this is what every year we come back and everyone pulls it off. So
And you will have the opportunity. Typically, we interview during the conference chair for that year. So next year, we hope that can have you here and you
Yeah.
can tell us how everything went.
Right.
And
Absolutely.
you can tell Chris that he lied to you, saying that things were not be easy, saying that this will be your last DFI, and it was great to say.
that's assuming that you're not apprehended by, Secret Service on the way out of here.
Yes.
That's a good point.
That
Be
is,
careful with
that is the
for
thing.
sure.
That is the thing. Well, gentlemen, we appreciate you joining us.
Absolutely. Thank you all for
All
having
right.
us. Absolutely.
All right, we'll see you.
All right, let's just do some arrangements here.
This is like getting off a plane. That's slowing out.
Okay.
All right, thank you very much.
I think Lisa's next. Are you guys good if we still stay in order and just drop back, or does anyone got like hard? All right, then Lisa's next. The green sweater. How are you? I'm doing okay. We're gonna have to talk when you get on. I saw when I sent out the schedule this morning, I saw you're out of office, had Mike Paquette on it. We graduated tech together, so there we go. No, you should not be nervous at all. Please join us.
Sure.
All right.
Before we get started, Sebastian, can you just start testing? I need to get Ash to let me know everything.
What time is it in Australia right now?
Hear me?
So is Ash joining us at like 2 a.m.?
Yeah, he
'Cause it-
loves this.
Because if I was him and I had to put up with listening to us at 2 a.m., I'm not sure that I'd be okay with that. Excellent.
Yeah, better content maybe.
Yeah. All right.
Really
We're
is game day there.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, the Mets are in the playoffs, so I mean, it's like some things are important here.
You can see I'm the brain of the operation, keeping it together.
That's it. Well, no, I'm also like, someone's got to keep us on schedule because that's not going to be him.
Yes, no, I'll
No.
be here until 10 p.m. talking to people.
That's it. And then taking pictures to put on LinkedIn.
Yes, exactly.
That's it.
What I'm talking.
That's it. Yesterday he had to post on why we were still. I don't think he pulled that off. Are we good on sound? Okay. So
That's
can we share the middle?
sure. So which this one?
Yeah.
All right, so slide that one over. Yeah, wait.
Right. All
Is that good?
Here's there.
We're good?
Come closer
All
friends
right.
now. All right.
Straight already. Can you turn it so that it's facing between both of you a little bit more?
That-
Yeah, there you go.
Is that good?
All right.
Okay.
All right. Well, very good. Our next guest, Lisa Papandrea. Now, you're with that's right, Underpinning Foundation Skanska. So welcome.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be here.
All right. Now, you're here again as one of we've had many of the upcoming conference chairs. And so tell us about the conference that you're chairing coming up.
Sure. So yeah, I work at Underpinning and Foundation Skanska, but I'm also the chair of the New York Metropolitan Section COPRI chapter for the ASCE. So that's American Society of Civil Engineers, COPRI, Coasts, Oceans, Ports, Rivers
Got it.
Institute. So
There's a few coasts in New York. Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
quite a few. We're island folk.
That's
So very excited. Every 2 years, this is now the fourth time that we've had the biennial joint COPRI DFI Ports and Marine seminar in New York City. So it's on March 27th, 2025 at NYU Engineering School in Brooklyn.
Okay.
And the call for abstracts is out and due November 18th. So,
Excellent.
yeah.
No, I think that sounds like it's because it's a unique thing, right? Here you can kind of have lots of different topics when you're at annual, but the ports, the waterfront, and having spent a little bit of time working waterfront stuff in New York, like you have literally no idea what you're gonna find
Yeah.
when you start putting borings in the ground there. And so it makes every bit, and you work for a contractor, I'm not telling you anything you don't know, but like the challenges.
But you are educated me. I
Yeah.
have never done work like that. So keep going.
Oh yeah, no, well, look, I mean, you go back, you see those maps from like the
Uh-huh.
1600s of like where the coastlines were.
Yeah.
And then now they're all out
Yeah,
here.
correct. Like
So there's just
expanded.
stuff saying,
Yeah, field that has been placed through years.
They didn't have the phrase controlled fill back in the
Right.
Yes.
1800s when they were filling this all in. But I haven't been working for a contractor for that long.
Okay.
I think
so tell us, tell us
Yeah,
a
yeah.
little bit
Well,
about
let's
your
go
background.
back to the past.
Yeah,
It's always start at the present, and I bring you back. So tell us your past. Where you grew up, where you went to school, how you end up coming to the industry.
yeah,
Whole thing.
I grew up in New Jersey, and I liked Legos and cities, and
Well,
so
that-
and I was
yeah.
good at math. So my mom was like, maybe you should be an engineer because
Yes, yes.
you'll get a good job. Cranford, Union County.
Got it. Okay.
So suburb of New York. My parents are from Brooklyn. And so I went to college at Columbia University,
Oh,
studied
wow.
civil
That's awesome.
engineering.
I also went to school in Colombia, just with an O,
Ah,
right? Back in South America, but
That's
it's
good
almost
to
the same as Colombia. So
um,
I have the shirt. I actually did presentations at Columbia, so I have the shirt there. But keep going,
That's
keep going.
great.
I love Colombia.
I went to Columbia, the country, last year for the first time and had a great time.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Um,
Do our millions of viewers a favor and don't get him started on Columbia. Right? We do not have time for that today.
where are you from?
I'm from Jersey myself,
Where?
but down in Monmouth County, like Asbury Park.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, cool. I love Asbury Park.
absolutely.
All right, let's go back to Columbia University. So
we're
you studied.
I mean, there's
Thursday.
waterfronts in
Yeah,
multiple
yeah.
places.
That's it.
But yeah, when I graduated, I started working at a geotechnical consulting firm, Muser Rutledge.
Oh, yeah.
So very New York centric, and did a lot of supportive excavation, foundation design, and also some waterfront design work.
Okay.
And I kind of really liked that kind of work. It was very unique. I liked the design for vessels and movement and the geotechnical is very interesting, especially in New York. So I worked at Mont McDonald for about 5 years after
Ah, okay.
10 years at Muser. And then
Ton of experience. Not saying anything. Not on the air, but you don't look like you have.
and I'm
that
only
much
25
age,
years
right? Yeah.
old.
Yeah.
Exactly. I'm adding in my head, and it's like, okay, keep going, keep going.
Yeah, I guess the more you learn, I just sometimes I joke that the more time I spend in the industry, the more amazed I am at how jobs get
Oh, that's
completed,
not
just
very
because
nice
there's
comment.
there's so many, every job is so complicated and there's so many
Yeah.
different stakeholders and all the parts that need to get put together on time. It's just incredible. And what an important role every part
Yeah, plays.
plays.
Yeah.
But there is the challenge with what right. It's we touched on it with the waterfront and like literally never knowing was everything we do, everyone in here, right?
Mhm.
It's like, I don't want to, we're not going to go on to a downward spiral of disparaging structural engineers right now, but it's like,
I am a
What's-
structural engineer.
well, no, but right when you get out of the ground, concrete, steel, like there's definable properties and it's a little more straightforward. The
Sure.
below ground, that's the part I'm getting at, right? You literally don't know
A lot of unknowns.
what you're going to find, right? So
Yeah.
the unknowns become much more of
Yeah.
a challenge to try and overcome.
Yeah.
All right, but back on track, back on track. So you work in the consulting world, right? Design world. And then what happened? Because you kind of jumped to the other side, similar to what Chris did in
Yeah.
his career, right? It's like you guys follow I don't know, it may be a true call. Like I always said, my dad was a contractor. And, like obviously when I was a kid, I never was dreaming about doing design and addressing 100 comments from a reviewer, right? I mean, I wanted to construct things. I wanted to, what do you say, playing with Legos, playing in the sandbox. So how has that changed? That then one day you say, well, no, I want to explore other things. I mean, is that you felt that maybe in the consulting world you have done enough and you wanted to, open another line in your career and explore things, or it was just a great opportunity appears, or how was that process?
I think so. I had worked with underpinning before, as on the consultant side,
Mhm.
they were the contractor. So I always really respected the engineering skill.
Yes.
Not just underpinning, but in general, right? For a lot of temporary works that need to get done. And then a lot of my experience is also where our client was the contractor. So either
Okay.
design
Direct
build
design
project or
builds, yeah.
contractor designed
Mhm.
supportive excavation. So I was always really interested in that kind of work where you really have to understand how you're going to build it to design it.
Yeah,
right?
correct,
And
correct.
that's
Yeah,
really
oh, yeah,
exciting.
completely agree. Yeah.
And there's always a lot of innovation that goes on. So that's always been exciting
Yeah.
to me. So I think it was kind of I was always kind of moving that way. And yeah, very happy to be there now. Happy that I get to work with a lot of people that I met
Yes,
along the
correct,
way.
correct,
Like
correct.
the
No.
industry is so small, you know, you wouldn't
That
think that
is-
being in New York City, but it's
Yeah.
So now let's pass. Okay, so that's the professional part, but now let's pass to the DFI and professional societies. So, you know, how was your like starting in DFI and your growth on DFI and going through these different things? I mean, like how was your experience and compared to other professional societies and how you complement them
Mm.
and all that?
Yeah, I mean, I have to always thank the, you know, people, the supervisors and project managers that I've worked with, that they always really stressed how important it was to get involved.
To get
Correct.
involved.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, you know, I got involved with DFI back when I was at Muser Rutledge, so it's been now over 10 years.
Yeah.
You know, I went to when the last time they had it in New York City, which was probably
17 or
16,
Yeah.
17, something like that. Yeah.
yeah. And just such a great way to see different things that are out there and
Yeah. No, it is. it
different
is.
parts of the world. You know, my career has been very New York area centric, and
Okay.
you know, it's so great to see what other. you
And I
know,
mean, to be honest.
Yeah, you can learn, right? I mean, I had
Yeah.
someone come by today and looking at, you know, the pictures of our cranes with doing dynamic compaction. Kind of looked over a second. I had no idea that was even a thing, right? And it's
Yeah.
like, you see that a lot with the drilling technique. I was watching someone, you know, one of the guys here that's selling polymer for the, you know, slurry walls and stuff like that. And just put it up, all the sands filter it. Like, I'm like, huh, all right, well, that's kind of neat, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. For Endurant, they spoke, or will speak today about energy piles, putting,
Yes, yes,
Yes.
you know, being able to heat and cool a building by getting geothermal energy from the foundation. So there's always so
Yeah.
much.
Yes.
Absolutely.
No, it's great. And I'm sure for you it has to be super exciting that, I mean, DFI in the last few years have recognized the importance of going back into ports and water resiliency and all that, right? So it's
Yep.
like, it's coming back to, I mean, not coming back because you have never gone there, but it's going into a market and something that you definitely are established. And it's like now DFI is putting a lot of effort on that. So it has to
Yeah.
be really, really exciting to, you know, to see that. And, you know, from the point of view of what you do now, it's, you see this conference and the amount of papers that we have on that is significantly higher than previous conferences,
Yeah.
right? So it's very,
Yep.
Yeah, yeah. COPRI is, I guess, as a technical committee is very well-rounded because it can cover the geotechnical, the structural,
yes,
the,
correct, correct.
just the port design, the resilience and post, shore protection. So
Yep.
there's a lot of different disciplines and types of engineers and builders that. that
Oh,
come to those
absolutely.
events.
Yeah.
And lately there has been a lot of focus on resiliency and designing for sea level rise. And
Yes,
we've
correct, correct.
Gotten some interesting,
Yeah, I mean,
interesting
we're
lectures.
seeing what's getting ready to hit Florida
Correct.
again right
Fortunately.
now, and that-
Yes.
where that
The
focus on
importance, yeah.
the coasts and everything. Yeah, it's tremendous.
Yeah.
So
Well, no, that's great. I mean, thank you very much for your time and telling us all this and best of luck with the conference, right?
Thank
I
you
think
so
we're all
much.
excited.
Yeah,
right? We're all excited about it.
No, I think it'd be very interesting. I think it'd be
Yes, and I
I'm
mean,
really excited.
obviously you are also growing in DFI, as you mentioned before, right? Getting volunteers to a lot of things.
Mhm.
Yeah, and then we can wait to see what else is next, and you keep growing and growing and growing, right? So-
Absolutely. Yeah. Very glad that COPRI and DFI have this event together. And
Yes,
it's
no, that's
really
awesome. I mean, I
to
think
see a lot
that's
of
something
people
that is
there.
really going well, which is DFI reaching with many different organizations, right? I mean, we have Geo Institute ASE booth right in front of us, right?
Yeah.
We can see Brad typing there. He was our first guest yesterday, and I think it's great. The more that you,
Yeah.
the more that that we collaborate in the industry, the better, right? I mean, it's a time that we all need to integrate and try to work together because there is no point in trying to replicate what one is doing and the other,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah,
So
compliment.
Yeah,
That's it.
exactly.
Well, excellent. Well, thank you.
All
very
right,
much
thank
for
you very
joining
much.
us.
Thank you. This was great.
All right.
Sure.
Well, good. We'll see you throughout the next few days.
Awesome.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Very good. I think we're Matt, right? Yes.
No, thank you very much.
Excellent.
All right, so we go with Matt.
Yep, Matt's up.
Let's do it. What's up, man?
All right, how you doing?
Very good. Another guest that is gonna make me look so short and small.
They didn't get any runs on bases loaded.
No, it's nothing.
Yeah.
We had the bases loaded.
Yeah, we had bases loaded.
Ah, that's no good.
Martinez struck out.
He's not been doing.
No.
All right, we don't need to go down that.
Hot and cold this year.
That's it. All right, Matt Conti, welcome.
Yeah. How you
So,
doing?
well, I'm doing all right. It's a little hot
It is.
from this window, but we digress. Let's before I get yelled at for not bringing it all the way back to the beginning.
All right.
Yes.
Why don't we start with? Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? How we've gotten from 18-year-old not knowing what the hell you want to do to here we are now.
All right. Well, I actually I grew up in construction, so I knew what I wanted to do when I was a child.
Okay, well then,
where
very
did you-
good. Then I
where did you
stand
grow up?
corrected.
I grew up in Connecticut, and my grandfather started our construction company, so I'm third generation.
Oh,
So,
really?
yeah, I grew
didn't
up.
know that.
Yeah, I grew up working for my father.
We're in Connecticut.
Our company's out of Norwalk. I grew up in Westport,
Okay.
and so southwestern Connecticut. And
Got
I grew up working for my father, driving trucks and running equipment and working with carpentry crews and all that stuff. So we did a lot of general contracting, and I went to college for civil engineering and liked geotechnical and soils. I grew up digging in the dirt. And
Yep.
So after college, I basically took over his business with my two brothers,
All right.
and we still run it now. And I'm hoping we go into fourth generation with my children and maybe one of my brother's children's child
right.
as well.
Man, that's awesome.
That
I
was
have
very
no
cool.
idea.
Yeah.
I honestly thought that it was just your dad and then you.
No,
Didn't know that it was your grandfather.
my
and your
grandfather, yeah, he
brothers
came
and-
from Italy and started a construction company. And
Awesome.
he moved, came over during World War II, and he
All right.
fought for America, and then he started a company. My father went
Wow.
to Vietnam, and then he
Came back
home.
and
God,
got the
Yeah,
company.
that's totally-
yeah, that was that's
Wow.
yeah. My father went to the same college. He went to Syracuse for architecture, and I went there for engineering.
Oh, so you're
Ah.
a Syracuse guy.
Yeah.
I think I did know that.
Yeah, yeah, that's how I found out about DFI from Sam Clemens. He was the first.
Oh, really?
helical
You had
chair.
that in the question. So
And
I
that's
always
how
like
this,
to have that. So he told you about what DFI
Yep.
was, and then you start getting involved.
Yeah, and helical piles and all that. So when I got out, we did a lot of work for a chemical plant. And my
Right.
father, so basically, we've been the only contractor there for about 40 years. And we were always working. It was an active plant, and there's always repair work.
Yep.
In between the tank farms, and so we had to do tight access things. And it was built on a very bad soils along the river in
Yeah.
Norwalk. So we were always hiring pile drivers to come in and shore things up, or
I was
we were
like,
doing underpinning.
So how about we stop hiring the people and do it ourselves?
Exactly.
See what I did there?
Yeah, you
That's
did.
good.
Yeah.
We got things to talk about. So my son is a senior at Syracuse.
Okay.
Right?
great.
How
That's
he
a-
pushed me
that's
away.
engineering.
Good for him.
Well, he takes over these things. a
Does
lot.
he love it?
Yeah, so he's not in engineering. He's in the Newhouse School, communications.
Yeah, I had
He-
several friends in that. Yeah.
yeah, he spent the summer working for New York Islanders. In
Good for
Queens.
him.
So,
It's
yeah.
a great school for
He loved-
communications, as you
He,
know.
he loved it. And then so Norwalk, I'm having all these flashbacks because I lived in New Haven for 4 years
Okay.
working for Langen.
All right.
And that was, my daughter was born at Yale, but my son was playing ice hockey. So we were in every rink everywhere. And that's the thing,
There's-
different, like coming to
Hockey's
Virginia.
big in that area.
It is, but it was like we came down to Virginia and the league he played in, we could be one weekend in Baltimore or one weekend down in like Hampton Roads, like driving 4 hours.
lot
But-
more
but up in
traveling.
Connecticut,
But they're
you
all
could-
right there.
You could literally be in like 16 rinks
Yes.
within like a 20-minute drive.
Yes, yes.
And
There
it
are
was-
several.
It was fun.
Yeah, I bet.
It was fun. And then also you're a Mets fan.
I am.
We got drunk at these things.
I do.
I don't know. we probably-
Apparently that's going to change.
Apparently we need to do that.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
We don't know each other, but I have no idea.
Well, we have to celebrate tonight, hopefully. With
Oh, but yeah, we're gonna go get the champagne when this is done. Well, no, I know you. I mean, you've helped me out on some DFI journal reviews and things like that, which has been great. So I know we've interacted, but it's always this is one of the pleasures I've had here as we've.
Oh
been
yeah,
able to-
just to get
this
to
is
know
now the
people,
fourth
know
year.
stories, yeah.
Absolutely.
There's sometimes people that I've had connections with that come on that Sebastian hasn't met or vice versa. So it's been a lot of fun for us to have
And
people
for me,
on.
it's always also fun to learn about Chris. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because during all these conversations, he
Yeah.
gets all kind of personal stuff. So.
That's it.
But
So,
anyway, I'm the guy that bring you back into the line. So
that's it. Yeah.
let's go into the DFI.
Yeah,
stuff.
this guy with structure. Yes.
So how was okay, so we know how you got into the DFI.
Yep.
Right. But then how has been your growth? Because I mean, you have been growing obviously tremendously with the Helical Piles Committee, and you have done all kind of great things, the manual, and then, you have support a lot of things what we were doing in Colombia last week, and, the translation of the manual to Spanish with Jose and all that. So how will that happen? I mean, how you pass from being somebody that just joined DFI and start attending events to somebody that became a leader in DFI?
So fortunately, I knew a lot of previous chairs of the Helical
Okay.
Committee. I had worked with them, but I think that the
But you have
main,
worked with them where?
Gary Sider was in when I first started really coming
Yes.
around, and we're a Helical Pilot contractor. We install channels.
Okay, so it was through work you knew.
Through work knew them, and then knew Mark Bryant for the same reason, just working together in the industry. But I think the one thing that really helped, I would think, is I volunteered for things.
That's
you know,
it.
Yes.
They said, who wants to do this? And I raised my hand.
Yeah,
And I think
exactly.
that's what we try to tell people in all the committees.
Yes.
You want to be involved.
Just ask.
I had that conversation probably about 6 years ago or so with Cord Wisman.
Yep. Oh, I know Cord very
He
well.
was just coming off of, I forget what, it might have been when he was GI president or
Yeah.
something. And you see people getting elevated to board of trustee. I said, I was talking to him as Virginia Tech guys and everything. I was, what's the path to get to that? And
Yeah.
He said, you raise your hands.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's what I've tried to pass along to a lot of other people. Now, what you need to learn is like, maybe sometimes you don't always raise your hand, right? Because the next thing you know, you're on
anything.
But I have
you
not
got too
learned
many
that
things.
yet.
I have not personally
I
learned
have not
that.
said that yet.
I don't think I have either, but I'll
Yeah.
give you that.
But it's
but that really is the start is hey, does anybody want to help us with this? Sure. And
Yeah.
and to me it was a no-brainer
but
because
it's
I wanted to be
exciting.
involved.
You know, I mean, going back into and something that I see with Matt, we work in different things together. We have the task force for the industry awareness, and something that I always admire from you is that energy, and I hope that I project the same, which is like if you are excited and you want to do things, you bring that energy and that excitement, and it make it cool. So it's not. I know it could sound like, oh man, I'm volunteering for a lot of things, but it's not. It's not like that. I mean, it's just opportunities to do cool stuff.
Yeah.
So you're getting more like, with Chris, for example, like he's starting on the Academy of Geoprofessionals. So that's all I needed, right? One more thing to do with this guy together.
That's it.
But in reality,
Perfect.
Besides the jokes, it's awesome. I mean, it's great to do these things, and you get excited when you see also friends coming in, and it's very rewarding, I would say. I mean, I would like to use this to invite the audience, the thousands and hundreds of millions that we have.
Well, millions of
volunteer.
viewers
Yes.
right behind that blue light. That's it.
So to volunteer to these things, right? Because I think this is the common trend. Like we were talking yesterday, like what you say, just volunteer, just ask, right? Just say,
Yeah.
what can I do? It all depends.
Well,
on
and
you.
it's not just the just ask part. It's the just you say yes, and then you're in the room
and do it.
with the Cord Wismans, with
Yes,
Billy
correct. It
Camps,
gives
with the
you-
Tim Siegel.
Yes, yes.
These folks who have just are so respected in this industry. Yeah, I learned more by just sitting and listening to these guys talk about stuff.
Yeah,
you know?
well, the goal, one of the big things anyone in a career can do, and really in life, is surround yourself by people that might be better than you or know more than you,
Yeah.
or people you admire who you want to be like. And
Absolutely.
it'll rub off if you, if you or surround yourself with good people, you should
that's
theoretically it should rub off on you.
that's a great way to put it, right? It's like surround with people that you admire and you see.
People who are excited
Do
and
not surround with negative
energized.
people because it also works the same way, right? Like if you
Absolutely,
surround with
yep.
people that complain and have any negative
Yes,
energy,
yeah.
that all just put you down. So yeah.
All right, so now he always wants to pull it back. Let's pull it. Let's push it forward.
Let's do it.
You're here. I'm glad we're having a chance to talk and all, but you're also here because we wanted you to have the opportunity to talk about Helical next year. So
Yeah.
you're conference chair for DFI's Helical conference next year, which is going to be it is up in Connecticut, right?
It is.
It is.
So tell
Yes,
us more.
about it because
Yeah.
So this is the third one, and this is actually the only event of its kind for DFI
Okay.
where we actually do live equipment demonstrations
Right,
outside.
right.
So it's not just
yeah, it's
inside.
not.
So you have the morning looks similar to what we're doing right now.
And then
in
you
the
get out,
classroom.
play in the dirt.
Then we go out and we dig in the dirt. We
Yeah,
drill
that
piles
is
in.
awesome. I remember the one in, I think it was Cincinnati.
That was the first one, yeah,
Yes.
2019, and we had a great turnout. And I mean, if you could tell, I mean, I'm sure you've noticed that over the last decade or so, helical piles have really gotten pretty
Oh,
popular
absolutely.
in all areas. And even today, I counted in the exhibitors, you have about 18 different exhibitors here out of 110 that are helical specific.
Right.
And that's a big percentage.
That's
you
a big
know,
number,
that's
yeah.
a big number. So it is growing. There's a lot of, and the good thing about our committee and DFI in general is we're promoting people who want to make the industry better. So we have this event, and what we found is the people who want that, they're who are coming. Those
That's
people
it.
are coming.
That's
You know,
it.
those the
Yes,
big
completely
guys, they're coming in, they're doing outdoor stuff. We have a lot of contractors, we have a lot of engineers, the manufacturers are really big and they come in and it's It's a chance to, we started in Cincinnati, then we did Kansas City in 2022, and now we're in Connecticut. We're kind of covering the country.
Yep.
And we want to get local engineers because unfortunately we still get those engineers that still have not worked with helical piles
Yes.
or have bad
Yeah,
experience with
Right.
them.
Exactly.
And you guys know,
Yeah.
that's always, you never know why that was. Somebody could have done
Any job can go sideways.
Any
Also
job can go
misunderstandings.
sideways.
You also get a lot of people on helical piles that say, "No, helical piles they are just so small piles to put like sign structures." You know what I'm
It's
saying?
like, no, get educated,
yes,
learn
correct.
more.
Like, you know them a lot, and I'm really excited about this one. This is where Chris is gonna start. So last week I was in Colombia, right? And I was visiting Axiatech, which is the first manufacturer of helical piles in Colombia, and Jose Martinez. And he's actually doing a lot of helical piles in Colombia and South America and even Central America. And then this conference is kind of coming as this is gonna be the opportunity for a lot of people from these countries to come and see here and get even more educated on this. So I think Jose has been talking to you, and the idea is that there is gonna be some part that is in Spanish, like some tour that is in Spanish that he's gonna show things. So I'm really excited about it because I think this market is exploding, and DFI it's in a really good position. I think DFI is leading this change, and it's exciting because helical piles has been a very important part of DFI in the last years, right? So it's awesome that we put ourselves in that position. When I was in Medellin, I was talking to, we have a panel with some stakeholders from like the main energy companies in Colombia and also South America, and they are all saying, for the conditions that we have, helical piles is the most cost-effective solution. So it's like we need to go heavy into this.
Right.
And we're talking countries in South America don't have any kind of design manuals for helical piles. There is not any kind of codes or anything like that. And obviously the idea is that we're now going to work with them together and provide all the knowledge that we have in the manuals that we have, but also on the committee, right?
Yeah.
And past that. We have Karen Dawson was presenting there, right? She's an expert. She's one of the authors of the
She's great.
best practices manual. So yeah, it is exciting times.
Yeah. And the good thing about helical piles in general is if you travel the country or go outside, go to Canada, go down to South America, there are so many different sizes and types and configurations. And, you can adapt to the soil conditions. In our area in New England, we see a lot of the small to medium sized shaft stuff because it's just the type of soils we have.
Yeah, right.
Whereas you go out west, you see the larger diameter stuff. And
Right.
But that's almost completely different industries, but really the same. And
Yeah.
now as the popularity has grown, our equipment options have gotten better. We have
Yep.
much better torque monitoring systems.
Okay.
The technology really has caught up because really, if you think about the innovators that we've had in our industry, many of whom are big DFI guys,
Yes.
they're
Oh, yeah,
the
absolutely.
books that they've written, the Gary Sider, the Howie Perkos,
Yeah.
like these
Right.
these are heavy hitters in our industry. Not a lot of industries have so many advancements
Yes.
so
Right.
quickly. They've been around for a long time, but really these guys came in and they're really innovating, and all the major brands have their person who's doing that.
And that goes for more than just the helical thing, right? You look at in the room, like, if we were to have a snapshot of what that room looked like 10 years ago
Yeah.
versus what it is now,
Yeah.
with rigid inclusions coming in and with auger case piles, it's like every year you see another
Innovations.
presentation where they got more capacity here, and so it's cool stuff to be a part of because it's always changing.
Absolutely.
So, all right. So where are we at with the conference? Do you have, is your call for abstracts out? What's the timing? Like where is everything?
It is
Right.
out. Currently they're due. The abstracts are due on the 13th of November.
Okay.
And the event itself is the beginning of May. I believe it's the first full week of May.
Got it.
And the goal is to get abstracts for anyone who wants to do an outdoor exhibit, which is what we call it, where you're doing the dynamic, you're bringing equipment, you have a big space, and you're doing an actual presentation for everyone.
Where do you find the property to just
Yes.
start drilling stuff and tearing stuff up?
So it's not easy, but what our idea was, the first year in 19 we went to a fairground, and
Okay.
that's actually what this is too. And in Kansas City actually was a fairgrounds as well. So
Okay.
you think about, you go to the fairgrounds, it's big flat space, right?
Yeah.
They bring rides in, they bring vendors in. So
But you
we
leave the piles there, like you stand
no,
with this, or-
that's the best part about the piles. They come out.
Yeah.
we
Yeah,
just
just
unscrew them.
turn around, bring 'em
So
right
we
back.
basically unscrew them, and then every once in a while we bring a little topsoil in, clean it up, throw
Okay,
some
okay.
grass seed, and it was like we're never there.
There you go. All right. Well, Matt, this has been awesome. So
Yes.
what we're going to do is, right now we're still nothing.
I see that.
Okay. But what we'll do is we are going to have the champagne down at the bar later.
Ready to go.
After the Phillies are, just
Destroyed.
Yes. That'd be very good. We are.
Just for the record, I don't support any of this stuff. I'm
Yesterday,
centered on DFI.
yesterday I mentioned FAA fines, and then after the fact, someone pointed that out to me. What I meant to say was FCC fines. We haven't, Teresa has not gotten notice that, we have FCC issues right now. So we're going to keep doing this. But I'm still trying to keep it above board. So
This is just our opinion. Our opinion is that the
Yes.
Mets should win.
yeah, I'm pretty sure Ash
does
is
not
in
reflect
Australia
DFI.
right now, putting that across the bottom. This in no way represents anything that DFI actually has to say. Yeah, got it. Dude, this is awesome.
Hey, thank you.
All
I
right.
really
Appreciate you joining
It's a
us.
pleasure.
All right. Very good. I think I appreciate everyone bearing with us due to our schedule slide in here. Allie, welcome. You absolutely can. That's here for. We'll deduct the cost of it from the massive appearance fee that we're
Yes.
getting ready to pay you.
Oh, Chris, I'll make a quick correction. My name is Ailey.
Haley.
Sorry.
No,
Want to do-
that's my apologies.
It
Ailey.
looks,
All
the
right.
first I always gets everyone.
Got it.
It gets me
Ailey.
too.
But I have been calling you wrong like the entire conference.
Ailey, what are you talking about?
Well, I have an accent, so I can say that.
Yeah, he could just blame it on,
Yes, I have to say it. I'm from another country, so I'm excused, right?
That's it.
So
Well,
how you pronounce it again?
Ailey.
Ailey.
Like
Okay.
Haley, but without the H.
Yes.
Oh,
Oh, easy,
very good.
easy. No.
And then my last name is Super, but with a V. So
Oh,
got
okay.
it. All right.
Oh, wow. Well, let's start with all this. I mean, where are you from? I mean, obviously it's a unique
Yeah.
name, well, and very unique last name. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
my last name is actually like Americanized Polish.
Okay.
When my family emigrated, it was Vipior, Wypior, and then when they came through Ellis Island, it's
Pieper?
That happened to my,
somehow
was not
became
that happened to my family
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, I mean,
somehow
it's,
became Viper. So
Yeah. No, when I was going to get Irish citizenship,
uh-huh.
My grandfather, we had a birth certificate that had one name
Okay.
yeah.
and a death certificate that had another name. And we were missing that piece from immigration
Like how,
that
Yes.
to be able to connect
yeah.
point A to point B. That happened to all kinds of
So, I
families
mean,
going through that.
yeah, we're talking times that people could just change their last name as they were coming, right? And,
Yeah.
and adapt.
Well, a lot of it was just frenetic, right? Like the people that were registering them as they're getting off the boat.
Yeah, but I mean, without going
Yeah.
further, like, my name really, you have saying it wrong all this time, but I don't care. My name in Colombia is Sebastian. It's not Sebastian. Like the accent, it's at the end.
Well, then
But it's like-
me
but
and
when I
like
came to
the 1,200 other people
I
that
know.
are saying your name wrong.
So, but what I'm saying is like when I came to this country, I adapted in that sense, right? Because it's
Yeah.
like I'm not gonna start telling every person like, no, it's Sebastian. So I don't really care how it's pronounced.
Yeah.
But it's funny because it's that change that when you come to the country, you adapt to make it easy, obviously, for blending here. But not blending, but at least making it easier for people to say. But anyway, let's go back. So that's the origin of your family.
Yep.
Then you were born in
Texas. Houston,
Texas.
Texas.
All right. And we're a Hokie by background.
Pokey by
No,
background.
there is an interesting. I got the spoiler at lunch. We were talking,
Yeah,
so I
yeah.
know all this. I'm
You
trying
got
to
the
present it in a
preview.
way that is exciting. Okay, so you start in Texas,
Well, then I'll just hang out over here.
and then okay? So you start finishing high school.
Yep.
And then you realize you're good on math.
Yes.
Your mom encouraged you, right?
Yep.
Then you end up in study. But what was your bachelor on?
My bachelor's degree is in engineering science, so I call that the liberal arts version of an engineering degree.
You study at Trinity, right?
At Trinity University in San Antonio, Texas. Go Tigers.
There you go.
Yeah, but
We like shout outs here. We do it
yeah,
all the time.
it's- but yeah, so I got the basics in electrical, chemical, mechanical. I didn't come out with, an adjective to describe the type of engineering.
But electrical was amazing.
But electrical was one of them. And at the time I didn't really know what I wanted to do with engineering. I just knew I wanted to be an engineer. So then when I was an undergrad, I actually studied abroad in Christchurch, New Zealand, 3 years after, those devastating earthquakes. And
Oh,
I
wow.
saw all that and I,
Okay.
Oh, you didn't mention that part at
I know,
lunch.
so
I see you
I
have been
want-
skipping it to
I
make it more
wanted to
interesting.
keep
She's trying to keep some stuff.
Yes,
that's it.
It's good. Oh, yes.
There's more to the story, but I knew I wanted to do engineering to help people, and seeing all like the way they were rebuilding everything, I was like, oh, this is what I want to do. I want to do stuff with earthquakes. So I graduated. I tried to get hired by a civil firm. The major consensus was, but you're not a civil engineer. And I said, you're right, I am not, but I could be if you hired me. Didn't work out.
I love this part. I love this part, and I like to elaborate because this happen a lot in many schools that you graduate with, with your degree as like
Yeah.
engineering technology. Like we have something similar in Pittsburgh with one of the satellite campus,
Mhm.
and it's some people like don't understand it, right? So
Yeah.
they don't see the civil engineer part, and they think that it's like it's a less valuable degree, which is not,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So, but then like the part that you always describe it is, I love your answer because you told me the same at lunch. Is like, when they were asking you this, you say, yeah, well, I mean, in your eyes, I may not, but I could be.
Yeah.
Like, if you give me the chance, I could be.
Like,
You're
you
like, I
can
can
be.
learn. I can learn anything.
Yeah.
So yeah, continue. I
So
get too excited.
yeah. So then let's see, I got hired by a gentleman who owned an electronic engineering firm, had the exact same degree as me, was looking specifically for an engineer from Trinity. He was like, I need someone to come, do electronic engineering. So I did intercom systems in K through 12 schools for 3.5 years. I was like, this is great. I love it. But I kind of got a little bit bored, and I was like, in the back of my head, I was like, you want to do civil engineering, you want to do earthquake stuff. So I was like, all right, we're going to pivot. We're going to go back to school. We're going to get that master's degree. You're going to get that piece of paper that says you're
Yeah,
a civil engineer
That's it.
now.
That's it.
So now no one can say that you're not. But I originally thought I wanted to do structural.
Okay.
I think that's a very common thing in
I think
geotech.
everyone that sits here says that they started as a structural engineer and eventually became.
I'm going to do that. So I applied.
Oh, you're gonna love this part.
I applied structural engineering everywhere except for Virginia Tech, where I found Dr. Russell Green.
Yep.
Shout out Dr. Green.
Yep.
And he was doing all the liquefaction research. I was like, that's what I want to do. And then my final two choices were between Virginia Tech and Colorado School of Mines. I went and visited both. I got on Tech's campus. I met the students there. I met the professors, and it felt right. It felt like home.
That's it.
And
So
yeah,
when were you there then?
I started in 2019 and
Okay.
I started at Lang in 2021.
Got it. So yeah, I was at Tech in 2001 and 2002. So
But it's funny how you guys have in common, right? Virginia
Yeah.
Tech and Langan and
Yeah, there are
Yeah.
so many people at Langen who graduated from Tech.
well, there's that, and then you come to these things, and it's
Yeah.
like the amount of Langen people. So all right, so what office you in Langen?
I'm in the Philly office.
Philly office.
Yeah.
So you're with Jared
Yes.
and
Hi,
who else?
Paquette.
now that
I
brings the
for- that's right. I
question-
forgot that Paquette is in the Philly office full time now. That's right.
Let's bring the question why Jared is not here. And I think 2,000 people have asked that, right?
Right.
And I texted Jared and I'm like, I know, I'm aware. Compromises in life you have to make.
Well,
Yeah.
we can look into the eyes of our thousands of viewers and
Yes.
just tell Jared that we miss him. That's all.
And
we
you
can
should be here.
Jared, thank you for your support in getting me here.
That's it. So yeah, so we've had Jenny's gonna join us after you, but then we will have had all 5 of the What If grant winners join us between yesterday and today, which is
Good.
awesome. And so we with the 3 women we had on yesterday, it was like, well, because they were professors in different school.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, well, how did you learn about it? The one thing we don't have to ask you is, how did you learn about
Yeah.
DFI, right? I
Yeah,
mean, we
yeah,
just
yeah.
watched, Rudy's gonna join us actually this
Yes,
afternoon,
yes.
a past, right? So
Yeah.
I think even back to when I was with Langen back 20 years ago,
Mhm.
like that was like the big thing.
Yeah.
Rudy was president of DFI and he worked for us kind of thing,
Yeah. Yeah.
So, all right, so 21, you joined Langen. So
Yep.
how are you liking it so far?
I love it. I love it a lot. Yeah. It's been almost 4 years, and yep, I'm based in Philly, but I go everywhere. I've worked in the Florida offices.
Yep.
I've worked in Phoenix. I've worked with our Denver and Salt Lake City offices. So I love that opportunity to get to know other
You
people.
could go
You can
everywhere.
you can go anywhere. So
That's funny, that's-
the best thing, I think.
That's actually how I started down the road of getting my Irish citizenship, because
really?
early on as a staff engineer, an opportunity, and this is like kind of George Levinas hadn't really, like, Langen International wasn't officially a thing yet.
Right.
Like George was getting ready to do a leave of absence to go, or I think
Okay.
he was gone in Athens getting, like, doing work for the Athens Olympics. And,
Okay.
but there was an opportunity to had come up to like go to Moscow to like do some drilling for like an embassy that was and I didn't end up doing it, but it was like, you know what, like I have this opportunity to have this passport, and there's going to be these opportunities coming.
Yeah.
And so yeah, and what's funny is, right, like I've been gone from Langen for 12 years now,
Okay.
but I get all the Langen emails and everything, and
Yeah.
I feel like every
Wait,
other
what
one
do you
that I
mean
get.
you get the Langan emails? They never took your email out from
No,
Langan company?
like the Langen, the Langen
We
leader.
need to
that comes
inform
out.
IT at Langan
Yeah.
that you don't work there anymore.
Well, no, I think for a while they got rid of, they lost my number, but we're good now. But, yeah, we don't have time for that. This is a family program. here.
Yes, I see we're opening a lot of doors
Yeah.
here.
No, but it's every time I turn around, someone I knew going back 20 years
Yeah.
is now starting an office in Chicago. Or
Yeah.
Chris Westbrook starting the office in Ohio, or like you know, Kyle Bogardus, who runs the Houston office, like
Yeah.
I worked with him in the Connecticut
Oh,
office.
wow.
And so it's been, even though I'm removed from it, it's
Yeah.
been very fun for me to see all this
Yeah,
growth. And it
Yeah.
seems like you're getting to experience the same thing,
yes,
working in all these different offices, seeing the
Yes.
different things,
absolutely, yeah.
which is cool.
Every time Jared or Mike is like, do you want to go here? I always say yeah.
The answer is yes,
And
absolutely.
It's now kind of a running joke that like they put out the call and then I reply and Mike is like, well, of course you said yes. And
Yeah.
then he'll even ping me like, you don't have to say yes to this.
Yeah.
Like, but I want
Sometimes
to.
you don't know where that's going to land you. Cause like I kind of had the same mindset. I don't know if you would have ever interacted with him. I think he's been gone from Langer for a little bit now, but one of the guys that worked for me for a long time, his name was Nero. He was up in the
Okay.
New
I've
Haven
heard the
office.
name.
And with you know, I was kind of leaning towards this ground improvement work, you know, what I'm doing now, and I kind of had done a lot of dynamic compaction jobs, and I still remember sitting in my office in New Haven, and Mark Gallagher called me one day,
Mhm.
and he said, "Hey, we just got this job, probably about 3 weeks. You're heading to Turkmenistan," and I was like, I had to like stop. It's never a good thing when someone says you're going somewhere.
Yeah.
And the first thing you have to do is pull up Google Earth. Cause I was like, where the hell is Turkmenistan? Right. And so I ended up over there on this massive, you know, Menard was there, had 9 cranes. It was all this, you know, for like a natural gas plant. But Nero was one of these guys that
Yeah,
always raised his hand.
Yeah.
So he ended up there.
Yeah.
He ended up, I was reading an article like the Kingdom Tower in Jeddah
Mhm.
is construction is starting back up on that. And I remember him going over doing a bunch of the drilling in Saudi and stuff like that. So you mentioned a whole bunch of the cities within the US. Have you had an opportunity yet to do any of the international stuff?
I have done, I mean, I don't know if it's really international, but I went to Mexico. and
Okay.
I drilled down there, so that was, they've asked me to go like further, and I'm like, I know, I'm okay, guys. I think I'm good for a bit.
Well, I mean,
I'm not that ambitious or
Well,
that bold.
Well, also, I mean, it is, and this is just kind of a fact the way the world works. It is, I would have had maybe pause when you go to some of those certain countries in the
Yeah.
Middle East and stuff like that. It's a
Yeah.
little bit different
Yeah.
sending a man versus sending a woman,
Yeah,
just
of
because
course.
of the way
Yeah,
the culture works. So
Right.
like I could see maybe that's a consideration.
it definitely was.
Yeah.
We did have a staff engineer in our office. She went to, I can't remember where she went, but she went to one of them, and she said she had a great time and everything, but I was like, I'm really proud of you for being bold and going, because they asked me and I said, I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm good.
It's a different set of consideration
It is, yeah.
just
yeah.
based on how the world works. But
Yeah.
So how does DFI enter into this equation?
So actually one of my friends won the WIDF grant last year, and when she was here, she was texting me. She's like,
What was that?
Cassie Cromish.
Oh, yeah. okay.
And she's like, you have to come. She's like, I'll write your letter of recommendation if
So,
you need
but
me to.
before that, were you aware of DFI or?
I was aware of
I
DFI.
mean, there is obviously Langan has great people that have
Yeah.
here, like Lori and Jared. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I imagine company-wide there is a really good image of DFI and a push in
Yeah.
some sense of
Yep.
saying, you know, pay attention to this. So you were aware,
I was aware.
but you were not a member yet?
I wasn't a member, and I didn't really realize fully how involved Langan was with it, because in the
Okay.
Philly office, we do a lot of stuff with like the Geo Institute. So
Yes,
we're
correct.
heavily
and
involved.
you got
with
the
that.
Delaware Valley.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
okay.
that's like our
No,
big
I
thing
got-
that
I
we
got-
do.
So I asked somebody today about Jared, and he said, "Why? You know why he's not here?" And then he said, "Well, he's now governor at Geo Institute." And I was like, "So what?" Which is not the answer. I want to say that's not the reason that he's not here. But
Yeah.
what I'm saying is like, you know, like it's awesome to complement societies, right?
Yeah.
Jared is watching this and saying, "Man, these guys
Oh,
are killing me."
There's no doubt that
He's
Jared-
never gonna
Jared's
miss
fine.
another one.
Yeah.
Yes. But okay. So you saw probably that Geo Institute was getting more attention in some respect.
Exactly.
And you
Yep.
thought maybe that's where I want to concentrate.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I think honestly, everyone in the DFI, we all started on Geo Institute.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then eventually we end up start doing DFI. We continue doing Geo Institute,
Yeah.
but we start.
Well, I mean,
doing
that's one of
DFI.
the things though that we're working to address.
And that's what we want to address
That's
on
why we have a
student engagement.
the student engagement and things like that, right?
Yeah.
Because one of the reasons we do start, a lot of the younger folks start with GI is because that's where the student chapters were, and you were in
Exactly.
college.
And that's
doing
when you're in
concrete
college.
canoe or
That's when
doing
you
some-
hear.
So you just know that there's a little bit more of a transition there.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, so
stuff
let's
we're
go
working to fix.
So, all right. So you are, paying attention to GI and all
Yep.
that. You are aware of
Yep.
DFI, and then you say, okay, I'm going to apply for the grant.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And you thought you had good chances, or how was the process, or were you
So
nervous?
the funny thing is,
I imagine you have been listening to our podcast for years, so you really
Years.
wanted to come to the conference.
yes, exactly. So the funny thing is, I said I was going to do it, and then I got really busy, and I kind of was like, it was on the back burner, and then I was like, oh, you know what, maybe this isn't the right year for me.
Uh-huh.
And then I talked to Jared. He was like, how's it going? And I was like, you know what, I don't know. And he's like, I understand completely. He's like, but I think you should really try for it. So I pulled together an essay. I was like, will you please write my letter of recommendation? And I, tightened up my resume a little bit, and I submitted it. And I was like, whatever happens, happens. I'm not going to be upset if I don't get it, because I know I'm going up against
Well, I mean, yeah, that's one of the
tons,
things.
tons of amazing women, and
Yeah.
I was
Yes.
floored when I got the
I
email.
mean, and you obviously are extremely talented, and that shows, because like this year was kind of like a record. They have about 40 applications, right,
Yeah.
and only 5 spots. So
Yeah,
that's some of the stuff that, like as they announced it right now, we're gonna expand it, and it's gonna be 8, which is great, even
Yeah.
more opportunities. But I mean, that also shows your talents, and and
Yeah.
I think it's going to go beyond it. I think they're
Yeah.
doing such a phenomenal job.
it
with
may be more than
fundraising.
8.
really
Oh,
are,
man,
I think
Yeah.
they're. I think they're trying to push it up to 9 or 10.
yeah.
that would be
Yeah.
awesome.
I think the push now is for 10 total. And I mean, if more companies
Yeah.
want to sponsor more, then by all means, and
So-
give. If you haven't given
Yes.
yet, please give to the Women in Deep Foundation.
That's it.
So what's next? I mean, now, okay, you came to the conference, and
Yep.
I always say this analogy. Chris doesn't agree with me, but it's like a drug dealer. We're giving you a little taste here of cocaine, and it's like, now you're gonna be hooked into this conference,
Yeah.
so you're gonna keep going forever. But
Yeah.
The guy from Colombia talking
I know,
about
I should
cocaine,
never talk
right?
about that,
Yeah.
but it's basically like, where do you see yourself going from here in DFI involvement? I mean,
Yeah.
that I'm trying to get into all the committees, but
Yeah.
what excites you, right? That you see and say like,
Did you have a chance to go to any committee meetings?
Oh yeah, I
Yeah.
went to committee meetings all day on Monday.
Okay, good.
So every single time slot where there was a committee meeting, I was in a committee meeting. So
You're seeing what they're about.
yeah,
So,
just
like,
I,
perfect.
I've known for a while now that I wanted to join Cast Files, because that's my favorite type of deep foundation.
awesome.
Right.
Don't ask me why. It's a weird thing, but I really love them. So I know for sure I wanted to join that one. And then I have a couple others that I'm interested in joining. So next action.
I'm feeling no pressure, right? I don't want
Yeah.
to like, part of DFI, and the beauty of this is that we understand it's a process,
Yeah.
right? And the important part is people to come, learn about DFI, get engaged. Eventually you start going, but DFI is at your own pace. And
Yeah.
that's the beauty, right? It's like,
Yeah.
you should do things that you get excited about it. Like, if you see some of the committees, and it's absolutely okay to see some of the committees and say, I think it's interesting, but
Yeah.
that's not my thing.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, take your time, pick a committee. I mean, obviously stay involved with Women in the Foundations.
Yes,
and
obviously.
yes, and I'm sure.
And then, like we just talked about with Matt, raise your hand when they say
You
who
raise
wants
your
to help
hand,
with it.
exactly.
That's it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yes,
That's how it
no,
works.
it's great. I'm sure we're gonna see you in many, many years to come.
You will.
And
That's it.
Yeah.
All right.
And
So
then-
Haley, I'll say your name properly. this
yes,
time.
like Haley, but without the A.
Haley
Exactly.
without the H.
Yep.
No, that I'm never gonna not think that now.
Yes.
There you go.
So that's good. We very much, well, congratulations
Thank
on
you. Thank you so much.
winning the grant.
Yeah.
We very much appreciate you joining us.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank
so,
you so much.
Look, I interact with the Philly office a lot.
Yeah.
Do work with you guys, so hopefully we'll get a chance to work on a job
Yeah.
here
Hope so.
in the future.
Yeah.
All right, very good.
Thank you.
All right.
you.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
All right. I don't know.
All right.
Jenny's next. I don't know if we have time constraints with John or with Rudy, or I don't know what we want to do. John, are you okay? We're running a little bit behind. You got. We're gonna be done. We're gonna be done by 5. Yeah. I don't know. You want to grab Rudy?
What?
You grab Rudy? You want to keep us in order? Because Jenny was next on the schedule. We're running like a half hour. What's that? Well, Jenny's next. Okay, we'll keep the order. Very good. All right. Yeah. All right. All right.
Where's the liquid courage? You don't got any of that underneath the table or something?
Well, he was just Columbia Bob was just trying to give out cocaine to people here. I don't know what's happening now. Hey, Sebastian, if you don't mind, we're doing a show here. Can we go together? Yes. Exhausted is absolutely the right way to put it. That's it. The millions of viewers. Don't get nervous. There's literally millions of people watching. I know at least Mike, if you're out there, I know Mike McGettigan's watching because he texted me. So we have at least you know, one viewer. Actually, no, Sebastian, look, we already from yesterday. We already had a couple hundred views for yesterday's one.
More than that, we're talking in the thousands. This is
Thousands.
Yeah,
That's it. All
we're
right.
negotiating our contract.
All right. Well, very good. Jenny Earl. That's a pretty easy name to not
Yes, we're not gonna
mispronounce. I've been mispronouncing
You
stuff.
cannot
earlier.
imagine how many names we mispronounce
The whole
here.
time.
and messed
No,
up.
mine's pretty simple.
So now with you joining us, we've had the good fortune of having all 5 of the women that received Wit of France joining us. So congratulations.
Thank you.
All right.
It's a
So-
great honor.
I get yelled at
All
if
the
I
time.
try and, you know, why don't you
Advice.
introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into
Where you
engineering
grew
and all
up,
that stuff.
Yeah,
where you went
so
to school, how you end up in the industry. We
I-
want to know it all.
I am originally from the province of Newfoundland in Canada.
Oh,
It's
okay.
a
Very good.
very small province with 500,000 people over the entire area.
There you go.
Grew up in a very small town and grew up loving rocks and the ocean
That's
and
awesome.
things. I had one uncle that was a geotechnical engineer
Okay.
and he saw my interest in
And he kind of helped
And
steer the ship there.
Oh, awesome, awesome.
All right.
But okay,
and-
but he didn't suggest exactly geotech engineer. He just said
No, he
engineer.
said-
Just go
no.
engineer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I went to university, University of Memorial
Yeah.
University of
Yep.
Newfoundland, and did civil engineering, it's one of the streams.
Yep.
And did, it's a co-op program, so I had 6 co-op placements by the time I graduated. And through there figured out, did not want to work for a university, didn't want to work for a municipality.
Mhm.
And I loved geotechnical engineering from
So you
working at
identify
There you
that,
go.
like
Yeah.
soil mechanics, you like
Yep,
that.
through
Okay.
like 6 placements, I was like, I love geotech,
Okay.
There you
but
go.
I do
With
not,
your
wanna-
uncle was thrilled
Yeah.
about it.
but I did not want to be a geotechnical engineer, which he was a little sad about. I did
I
not,
am
so I did my co-op.
But yet here you sit.
But here
Yes,
I
but
sit.
here you are. So
in
I
my last,
presume there is a twist on the story, okay?
in my last couple semesters, I was like, what do I do with geotechnical
Okay.
reports? I had done
Yes.
sampling as a student. I had worked on a few reports. Like, well, what do people do with it?
Okay.
And I started researching and I found Isherwood Geostructural in Toronto and sent them a message and said, what you do is really cool. I've never seen it before. I grew up in a province that you just blast the rock.
Yeah.
You don't shore anything. It's
Yeah.
all hard bedrock. And I was very lucky. I had an interview and moved to the big city.
Wow.
And that was 17 years ago and haven't looked back.
17
Wow.
years ago,
Very
man.
good.
okay.
17 years with the same
That is
company.
Same
amazing.
company.
Yes.
That's,
It's a wonderful company.
no, that's great.
So, okay, so being in Canada, doing all these things, how DFI comes around?
So DFI, I attended DFI, this conference in Phoenix in 2012, I believe,
Yes,
somewhere
yeah,
around
a
that
long time
time.
ago, yeah.
Yeah, and then I had the opportunity to attend DFI in India, a year or 2 later.
No,
Very
no, no, let's go back. So, okay, so you attended in 2012, you became a
Yeah,
member
thank
of DFI.
Yep.
You start at that point, did you start becoming like a member of one of the committees or
No, I haven't.
you were
done
more
that.
like
I
just
was-
observing?
Yeah, I
learning?
was observing and learning and
And then
going to
how
a lot of
India
tech.
comes around? DFI India.
Our CEO, Nader Ansari's,
Uh-huh.
approached 2 of us, 2 of the engineers and said, hey, do you want to go to India?
But you were not presenting?
No.
You were just
we-
attending?
We were just.
going to.
we
Ah,
were just
man,
allowed
that is
to
so
have our own
cool.
Experience.
That is so cool.
India,
Okay, so you
that
went
was
to
really-
India.
yeah.
You
And after that, I attended some other conference. One of my specialties at Isherwood is excavation support adjacent to railways.
okay.
So I've attended the
It's
railway
tight
conference.
requirements right there. Not much
Yes.
deflection allowed.
Not much deflection allowed
Lot of
and a
things.
lot of regulations.
A lot of regulations,
Yeah, and
yes.
all those things. You have to get very creative to try to save your client money while
Yes,
still,
correct.
um,
Maintaining a very high standard.
exactly, exactly. Yeah, then I had 2 children and I'm ready to be back
Have to
out
children.
in the industry.
There you go.
And So, this-
Wow.
so I applied to the grant saying, I'm ready to start giving back again.
Yes,
and
no,
start
that-
traveling
right,
again
awesome.
and all those things.
One, you're clearly getting right back in the swing of it because I feel like every time I've walked by the What If fundraising table.
Yeah.
You've been
Do you know what?
right there being part of it.
I have to do my part to make sure we have lots of grants for next year's.
That is awesome. That
Absolutely.
mentality, and I have to do my part so other people can have
Yeah.
the opportunity that I'm having right
Yeah, and What If is kind of over the last few years really kind of struck a chord with me. My daughter's 14, just started high school, and like you were saying, your uncle kind of noticed that interest in math and science and cultivated. Well, I'm seeing the same. I have no delusions that my daughter. I think she's going to be smarter than pounding dirt for a living,
Well,
which is what the old man does.
Yeah.
But she's very interested in, I think, aerospace and space. She went to space camp this summer, stuff like that. And so sitting here as she's growing, watching her interest in this stuff, like what If is doing, it definitely strikes, it kind of hits me different now because I'm watching my daughter get ready to start that path,
Yeah.
which is kind of cool.
And for me, it's being in the heavy construction industry.
Yeah.
I am often the only woman at a meeting.
Yeah.
I am often
Yes, correct.
surrounded on site. I'm nearly always the only woman on site.
Yeah.
And even at going to a client meeting, you might get a female architect, but
Yep.
so having that support network outside,
Yeah.
I'm very lucky at Assured where I have mainly female engineers, just the way it's worked out over the
Yeah.
years. So I have a really great internal support,
Yeah.
but now it's reaching out and getting that further for people who may
Well,
not
and
have
it's
that
it's things that you wouldn't even think about that I've heard since, we're celebrating the 10 years of Women in Need
Yeah.
Foundations. Over the last few years, I've gotten to get to know Jewel Stover a little bit, and with her talking about, do you realize that like construction safety gear,
doesn't
like
fit.
it doesn't fit? Where I'm
I-
like,
I have to specially order mine.
I'm like,
'cause
Really?
that's the thing,
I'm
like,
very-
you know,
Yeah, we're very small size.
I think a
Yeah.
lot of us just kind of take that for granted. It's like, wait a minute, that's actually a thing. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, and it's gotten better. I no
Yeah.
longer have to like hem my high vis pants myself.
Yeah.
Like I can find the right size now.
order the
So
right size.
it's
Yeah.
slowly changing.
So I have to go back to your uncle. So
Yeah.
how does he feel these days when he sees
He's
like
so proud.
when he
I've been
sees all the
sending-
success and all that? I mean, it
Yeah.
has to be awesome for him
I-
knowing that he was that figure that.
Yeah,
You'll be able to send him the link.
I will send
What's
him
his
the
name? What's his name? We want him to give us.
Yeah, give a
Paul
shout out.
Green.
All right.
There you go.
Well, wherever you are, thank you for
Uncle Paul, thank you. You did a
Yes.
great job.
Yes. yes.
Very good.
No, that is awesome. That is awesome. And I
Well,
love.
I mean,
the-
that's a key thing, though, right?
You have to.
you have to have, well,
No.
regardless of what part of life, you have to have mentors, and it's
Yeah.
to have people kind of see those things and help, whether it's that age as a kid, whether it's the folks here that see the
Yeah.
younger engineers, stuff like that. I mean, it's very important to have.
And
and
it's
it's important to go back and express that because you never know if you will have the opportunity later on, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know, I see a lot of people that sometimes because of, I don't know, other things in life going on and Chinese or whatever, don't go back and express that.
Yeah.
And you will regret that, right? I mean, it's like if you can go back to that person, that professor, that family, that friend, that whoever it was that kind of guide you into this direction and say, hey, look, all this that I have is for
Yeah.
people like you that encourage me to go into this. So no, that's great.
It's good. One thing we do at Sherwood, which is really cool, is we have geo camps. So the employees'
Okay.
children get to
Okay.
come to work for the week. And we do field trips and we teach them the soil mechanics and all those things.
That's
And
awesome.
we've started seeing now some of the ones who are young and like 7, 8 years
Yep.
old are now graduating high school and are now starting to go
Yes.
into the industry.
Yes, I mean,
It's
we just
a thing.
little story that I have there. When I was at the company that I am in 2008, we were organizing the Bring Your Kids to Work Day,
Mhm.
right?
Yep.
At that time, I was with the company for about 2 years, so I was still a young engineer, growing my career. So they said, well, why don't you take care of the kids? Because you seem to talk a lot and entertain people.
Yeah.
So I end up spending the entire day with these kids, which were the kids from my coworkers. So from that day, 4 kids end up becoming civil engineers. I'm not saying that it was because of me, but what I'm saying is it was so cool to be able to show them that. And probably they have their parents, obviously, as the main figure that probably guide them into the field. But to me, it's awesome to feel I may have played a tiny little part
That's
in
it.
that Bring Your Kids to Work Day. And,
Yeah,
and it
super
showed
cool.
the power of those initiatives that sometimes people think like,
Yep.
that's just check a box of, diversity, inclusion, whatever, like, you're a nice employer or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's not. I mean, it really can make an impact
Yeah.
on a person. So that's awesome. That is pretty good.
Excellent. And now you're clearly ready to hit the ground running and keep trying to pay it forward.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
No.
Absolutely.
No, great.
Important.
Well, good.
Great.
Jenny, thank you.
On that
so
positive
much for
note,
joining us.
yes, thank you very
It's
much.
been
for
great.
joining
This is
us and
sharing
your story.
Yeah, sharing the story, but it's also been very fun for us. This is the 4th year we've done this, to be able to have the What If grant winners on with us
Yes.
every year. It's been
Yeah,
really kind of cool to hear your guys' stories about how you've gotten.
because I mean, it's being fair, obviously, it's a lot more challenging in some respect, difficult than a typical male on the same position, right?
Yeah.
So it's interesting to hear and see how you, I don't want to call it adversity, but but you went through the conditions that were a little more challenging.
And it's not easy. It's not easy.
It's not
being
easy.
that-
Not easy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and even little things like I'm lucky I had someone who could put me in my high school guidance counselor, didn't know anything about engineering. He had no
Yeah, right.
idea
Yeah,
to push you. He
Right.
said you should be a teacher, right? So
Yeah.
to see that even having,
which I'm sure you would have been a great teacher.
I'm sure it
but-
would have been, but I enjoy the dirt much better. I
Yes.
guess.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very
so
much.
much for joining us. All right. Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, John, you ready?
All right.
Very good. Yeah, John. Yeah. Yeah, we got that. It's great that everyone's been flexible
Yeah, no problem.
with our time.
How are
Okay.
you? Good,
Very
good,
good.
How we doing?
good.
All right.
I brought a game day hat.
Awesome. That's the spirit.
Just
That's the
represent
spirit.
Cleveland.
Well, we got game day going right here. I don't like the fact that the Phillies got
We
second and
lost
third with one out.
and we lost. It's
So you guys are down 2-1 to Detroit now, right?
we're in the dumper.
Wow.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah, sad day today.
Hey, there's always tomorrow.
We got to win tomorrow and then we got to face their good pitcher.
Yeah.
So,
We digress. This is well, we've covered baseball a little bit.
yeah.
Why we've
This
been
year,
here.
baseball has been a main topic.
All right. So John, we have millions of viewers behind
Millions.
that blue light.
Yes.
Why don't you introduce yourself?
John Anderson, have a company in Cleveland, Ohio called Speccrete.
All
We
right.
provide grouting and concrete additives and focus very much on the foundation industry, auger cast piles, crummy concrete, rock grouting, etc.
Excellent. So, I mean, this is, your name's been up. So you're rotating off of the board or a committee
Oh,
chair?
I was, I was the manufacturer suppliers
Right.
committee.
Okay.
So, the two things that we do are the spotlights publications that go out number of times during the year to
Yep.
allow companies within DFI to promote themselves. And then we also do the expo sessions here at the
Excellent.
at
And then
the-
we've had, and we'll get to it. This guy always wants to.
Back to
bring
the
it back.
beginnings, right?
Well, we,
Mr.
I saw John Sinreich yesterday. I know he had to
yeah,
leave, but we also wanted to have you guys on here because next year, Cleveland.
Cleveland, Ohio is going to host Super Pile.
There you
We're
go.
very excited about that.
Yes,
That's
that's
why,
gonna be
that's why I
great.
brought the Cleveland hat.
Cleveland hat. No, that's good.
But yeah, we've been every year when you had that DFI suggestions, I would write, we need to have an event in Cleveland. So
That's it.
we finally got it.
Whittled
So,
them
That's
down to a nub.
yeah, there's a lot of history in Cleveland in the foundation industry. Auger cast piles were invented in Cleveland, Ohio
I did
by
not
the
know that.
Intrusion Prepack Company. And then
Huh.
Charlie Burkle worked for the Intrusion Prepack Company.
Wow.
And a lot of those people spun there. Terry Tucker, who used to be president of Malcolm, he came from Intrusion Prepack, and Al Lackner, rest in peace, with Gettle, was from Intrusion Prepack. So it's kind of one of those things that spawned out from there. So,
And I mean, even in modern days, right? I mean, your company's there, PDI, GRL. It's
Yeah,
a
a
lot
lot
of
of-
engineering going in Cleveland. I love Cleveland. I mean, it's only a couple hours from Pittsburgh, and it's a city that since I went to Pittsburgh, which is funny because many people in Pittsburgh don't like Cleveland, right? But I mean,
Yeah.
I
I
grew
think
up somewhere
Cleveland and
else,
Pittsburgh have a good respect for each other. We have
Yes,
what
but
you
I-
would call
I
a
love it. I mean,
friendly rivalry.
as a
Yeah.
city with the lake, the Rock and
Yeah.
Roll Hall of Fame, it's pretty good. I like it a lot, and I'm really looking forward because it's gonna be a great event, and I'm excited about it.
No guarantees, but we think that we'll be hosting one of the receptions at the Rock Hall. It's
Oh,
probably going
that'll
to
be
depend on
awesome.
sponsorships. So,
Yes,
you know,
everyone chip in.
Well done. I see what you did there. Well done.
Yeah.
Yes,
Well done.
yeah, it's product placement everywhere.
Well, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame's a big deal for me this year because Dave Matthews Band's finally being
Yes, I saw that.
inducted this
I
year.
saw
So
that.
one of
that's
my favorites, Jimmy Buffett, is being put in
posthumously.
posthumously
Yeah.
for
Okay.
musical excellence.
He
So,
wasn't in before.
no, he
thought
should
he
have been
was-
just for
yeah,
his
That's-
concerts.
Yeah, right.
Just-
Like that was he created an entire thing. Like,
Exactly.
he should have been in just for that.
He's one of those ones though that has a crossover between country and rock. And so
Yeah.
it's hard to.
Well, since we're
Yeah.
in music, I
Yeah.
know we're kind of going all over the place, but tell us about your talents.
Well, I do play in the DFI band.
DFI
Yep.
So yeah, I've been playing music since high school. I've actually had a band that started in 1972,
Wow.
and we still played in 2022.
Oh, that's great.
And so those guys are like my brothers.
What's the name of the band? You guys
Well, it was called the Fabulous Blue Moons. It was like an
Fabulous
oldie
Blue
shtick.
Moons. Okay.
And
Got it.
then I have another group that still plays that spun off of that, and it's a little lighter music called Light of Two Moons. And
Okay.
then I have another one that I play with some guys. So it's
That's
a
cool.
great.
It's fun.
How did the DFI started? The DFI band started.
Oh, what happened was I ran into Glenn Patterson
Yes.
at IFC in the year before we did that, and he was playing out in his booth. And I said, Glenn, I've had this idea that we should do this at the annual meeting. And so we started emailing back and forth and started emailing a few other people. And so the first year in Las Vegas,
Yeah, that was, I remember like seeing it live when it
Yeah.
happened.
yeah, Glenn drove all his equipment through the snowstorm to Las Vegas, and we did it there. And then because next year was in DC, I drove my stuff from Cleveland. Then we were in Seattle, and we said, nobody's driving everything to Seattle. So Angie worked out renting some equipment and did that here. And
Wow.
I don't know whether we enjoy it more. We probably enjoy it more than the people out there, but
I don't know. I like it. I
it's
found
fun.
it every time I see it. I see it as fun.
It is fun.
People
No,
are
live music. I mean, it's just sitting in the hall and just hearing live music. Going. It's
Exactly.
just
No,
it
and
adds-
for me,
yeah.
like seeing you guys, seeing the joy
yeah.
that you
They have
get
it
out of
fun.
it,
Exactly.
it's cool.
Exactly.
Okay, so
Yeah.
now we can go back to the
That's
beginning.
it.
So, were you born in Cleveland? Right
I was
there?
born and raised in Cleveland.
You
I
went
have
to
a
school
very
there?
strange career, and I
But we want to hear it.
yeah. So I'm a graduate of Kent State University,
Oh, cool. All right.
and I went there in the advertising communications, and I went to work for Master Builders. So I
Okay.
worked for Master Builders for about 8 years. I ran another business that's concrete products related. Stumbled into Specrete. It was in some problems that had nothing to do with product. It just had to do with some guy that had brought in
What year
something
was
new.
that?
That was in 1995 or 6.
Oh, wow.
I ended up owning the business, a little bit after that by 99, 2000.
Oh, wow. That was
And
pretty
then
fast.
well, it was a situation where the company had people fighting over nothing, and had nothing to do with our products. And then we, with a lot of help from our customers, I give Charlie Burkle a lot of credit. They were having trouble getting cages down on a job, and it was because of the soil conditions. And Charlie said, you solved this problem, and you're solving an industry problem. And we went to work on that, and seemed to have succeeded, and rode the wave of auger cast pile growth, and love DFI because our customer base is.
So, yeah, no, I mean,
Yeah.
stop there for a second because that is fascinating. So, you start doing this, Overcast Pilot was growing.
Yeah,
Right? You start,
yeah.
and then you say, like, you start going into the DFI web. So, how you got involved in DFI?
Well, because of that, because of the contractors we were working with,
They called you and say, hey, you should join this
we
organization.
we were just already we were already peripherally involved. I think for
Okay.
a while, maybe I was an individual member,
Just like individual.
and then, just because we were so small.
Yeah.
And then, I think, I don't know at that time, whether I don't think Teresa was involved yet, but we became a corporate member, and again, a good chunk of our customer base. And then we just started looking for other opportunities to work with them other than AugerCast, and started getting into some, neat grout applications. And we have a Tremie concrete system.
Mhm.
In fact, I was saying I wanted to go to a presentation because
Yep.
Nicholson's given a presentation about the shoreline access shafts that we worked with them on in Cleveland. And we have a system that meets the EFFC DFI Tremie concrete guide.
Okay. Got it. Cool. And then you start getting very involved in DFI, and
Yeah.
how was with the institute, I guess with the committees first, right? So you start.
Committees, and I think one of the things I've been involved in the MSSP, but the one thing I
Yeah,
encourage the MSSP people is get involved in the technical committees. I
Yes.
mean, I've been very involved in Auger Cast Pile Committee, and Mickey, with the company also has worked on one of the grouting committees, the International Grouting Group. And so, you know, anything we can do to support the industry is very, very helpful
So
for us.
now you're finishing a part as a committee chair, right?
Yeah,
So how is that? I mean, because I'm sure you have mixed feelings about that, right?
I do, but I think it needs some fresh blood.
How many years were you chair?
I don't know. I can't remember my own name sometimes, so I'm not positive.
But I mean, it was a long time,
Yeah,
right?
4 or 5, at least 4 or 5
Yeah,
years.
correct,
Yeah.
correct, correct. So I
Through-
mean,
through
it's
COVID and all that. Yeah.
so you're giving opportunities to others to continue what you're
Yes,
doing, to leading
yes.
it. But I imagine you will be still involved with the committee and be
Well, I'm still on the
active.
I'm on the a trustee right now, so I'm
Yeah,
still
correct.
liaison
So
to a few
liaison for that.
committees.
So
Yeah.
how was the progression also to go to the board of trustees? Because that is obviously a big
That was
step.
interesting. I was very surprised and honored to be asked. I mean,
Yes,
I
absolutely.
was again surprised and honored. But again, back to Cleveland, we are really looking forward to
Yes.
everybody visiting Cleveland. We haven't had an event there. I think they'll see that there's so much activity going on there, not only in the foundation industry, because there is a
Yeah.
lot going on there foundation wise. And we have the Clean Lake tunnels that into the project here
Yeah.
that are being done. That those help for water runoff, and so we've been very active in the shafts for those. There's a lot more auger cast going on in Cleveland that had not been going on,
Okay.
and so we're just we're seeing a lot of work, and
No, it is great. As I say, I'm excited. I think what you just said, like there has not been much DFI events in the area. I mean,
Yeah.
we were just talking. Yeah, we did have in Cincinnati 2019 the helical pile
yeah, but
seminar.
Cincinnati's like going to
I know, but
going to the south.
That's
you know?
that's far, right? And then in Pittsburgh, we have what is now
Yeah,
the
the bridge
S3
conference,
conference,
yeah.
but that was like 2014 or something, which is a decade. So that area definitely it's important to have one of these events. And the part that I'm also excited is because I really came into the FI, thanks to events that were done close by to where I was.
Mhm.
So I think when we do things like this, we can recruit new people, we can show
Absolutely.
how awesome is DFI.
Absolutely.
So it's gonna be exciting for people that are already members and all that to go to
Yeah.
Cleveland. But I think it's also the possibilities of bringing new people in DFI and all that. So that's
And we're
great.
looking for whatever help we can get in the plan.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Our Pittsburgh neighbor. We're good.
I already volunteer. I talked to Ryan Allen also, and I say
Awesome.
anything that I can help, I want to be part of that.
Awesome.
Yes. And then the other thing is obviously, I just want to thank you for the continuous support that you personally have done to DFI on the committees,
DFI's
but
done more
also-
for me than I've done for it.
but
I
also the
guarantee you that.
company, right? It's like
Yeah.
you guys sponsor a lot of things and you provide support and a lot of things happen thanks to people like you that see the value. I mean,
a
what do you say?
great-
DFI has given you more than what
It's
you
a
have.
great organization.
That
Great
you see it that way. So
organization.
yes.
Awesome
No,
place.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
No, I mean, with that, I think it's
Yeah,
I
it's
say,
a very
come to
positive
Cleveland,
thing.
rock and roll is
Yes.
here to stay, baby.
yes.
that's it. Well, John, we
Thank you.
promised we'd have you out of
That's
here
really
to
good.
make it to the presentation. We appreciate you joining
Thank you,
us.
guys.
Yes.
It'll be good to be in
We'll
Cleveland
be
next
in
year.
touch for Cleveland, right?
Rock and roll.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
We're coming to the home stretch now.
Yes.
All right,
Well,
Rudy.
Are we ready? Are we?
No, the Mets.
Are we
we're
Rudy at
losing.
the end, or
What's that?
fixing out Rudy at the end, or
We'll book in with Brad and Tom. Yeah, Rudy will just. You want to grab him? What's that? Yeah, we had it. We're equal opportunity. Yep. We're hanging out. Not good. I just
all right?
made a date with Matt Conti to meet at the bar to drink champagne after we jettison Philadelphia here soon. So hopefully that'll still work. Gentlemen, how we doing?
Doing good.
Good.
Sure,
So-
feeling pretty good. I mean, day 3 almost on the books.
That's
Stress
it.
levels go down.
Why don't we start? Why don't you guys introduce yourselves?
I'm Brad Long. I am program co-chair this year with Tom Pullen. I'm with HDR Engineering in Tennessee, and I'm really, excited about everything that I've seen this week. It's been an excellent venue, excellent staff, presenters, topics,
Yeah.
all of that. So really good.
No, I'll speak on behalf of DFI in general. I've been in your guys' seat as a technical co-chair for a conference. It's not easy. There's a lot of work that goes into it, but I mean, you guys have done a great job. This has been fantastic. So we appreciate very much the effort that you guys have put in.
I will say the support that DFI, the behind the scenes, the infrastructure over the past year that gives you to help be
Yes.
it. I mean, I was thinking it is a commitment, but it's like,
Oh, yeah.
and I felt like, yeah, I mean, I could always be doing more, but just the support of DFI, the Jamies, the
The
Angies,
logistics
the
Yeah.
you already have in
Teresas,
place,
yeah.
it definitely make your life.
They've
easier.
Yeah.
they've mastered the art of just making a repeatable thing
Yeah,
and not
absolutely.
reinventing the wheel every
Absolutely.
year. You know what I mean?
But also allowing Brad and I, Luca and Dave to have
Your vision.
flexibility
Yes,
to see our own
They just
vision.
kind of put an outline there for you.
Yeah,
It's gonna
yeah.
say, go ahead and fill it.
I mean, to be honest,
That's
it's
it.
like they said, we're gonna do the hard, annoying work. They will do it for you, and
Yeah.
then you just have to put the vision and the topics that you want. So you do the exciting part, right?
All right.
So it really worked out really well because then you can really put your angle on what you want to see.
Yeah, so I mean, I do a lot of stuff in the tunneling world. So DFI is new to me over the past year, but I've met some
Mhm.
you, particularly Brad and I've worked,
Yeah.
great new
Yeah.
key people and colleagues. So
Yeah. So let's go back to the beginning
Microphone.
because you mentioned something interesting here. So how you guys got into, like let's say in the industry where you grew up, and then how you got in the industry on the day-to-day activities and how DFI appeared on the picture, right? Because
So you want me to talk about my life?
yes, in a very brief way, right?
Okay, I'll try to make it brief.
Give
So
us the highlight.
I wasn't the most perfect high school student. So my parents said, okay, go give college a try. So I was like, I want to go be a timber harvester. So I took my chainsaw down to a little place near in southeastern Ohio for like a vocational school. Then my dad shows up at the door, says, I'm not going to pay for this anymore. And so I was no longer going here. So I ended up working. He's like, I'm going to introduce you to some friends, which was a contractor. I started working for a utility contractor doing horizontal directional drilling
How
and pipe jacking and stuff like that, right? So then I met an engineer that was kind of annoying me on my job sites. And I had gained it, and he was like, I'm a geotechnical engineer. So I went to Half Price Books there in Columbus, and I was like, geotechnical engineer, and got my first geotechnical engineering book before I even went back to college.
Got it.
No. So I ended up going back to college and becoming
And here we are.
here we are.
Excellent.
Prior to joining HDR, I was 22 years Army Corps of Engineers, working on deep
Got it.
off walls, getting to meet people in the industry,
Uh-huh.
manufacturing, engineering, the companies that are here this week.
Yep.
And so it feels like family to come
Yeah.
back here, really, because I've worked with them on challenging geology, challenging projects where risk took a different perspective. And just kind of bringing all that full circle, kind of giving back to the DFI and giving
Yeah.
back to the program and really kind of shaping that has been
Yeah,
really
rewarding.
rewarding.
Yeah, correct. So how that opportunity, right, come along? Like, like you guys were doing your thing, right? And then I imagine Teresa or somebody contact you, and it's like, we want.
Well, I
you.
got a call from Luca.
Also, Luca was the one.
Luca
brought
was
you.
like, hey,
Okay.
Tom, can you help me with this? I was like, yeah, sure. This sounds fun. Let's do it.
Okay.
Yeah, Dave Paul. I remember the day Dave Paul, he called me and he said, hey, give it some thought.
So what was your first reaction? Fear? When I was the conference chair on 2020 and 2022, my first reaction was fear, intense fear in my stomach. It's like, what the hell I'm committing to, right? Because it's like, I like, what is exactly involved, right? On all this. I mean, the fear with time became more excitement and the stress went away. But what was your reaction when you have these conversations? Because at the same time, I'm sure like when Luke and Dave called you, you were like, I'm not gonna say no, right? I mean, these are friends, and if they're asking me, I would say yes, no matter what I feel.
Not fear. I mean, again, I felt, some patronage to give back.
But it
So
was not overwhelming.
the
I
fact
look
that they
your uncle,
said
because
it
you always
was,
felt like giving back. is your-
well, and of course we had a year.
yes,
Yeah.
correct.
I've been on some committees where you've got 6 months.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so knowing that this was going to be a period of
Whole year.
a full year,
So
it really helps.
Let's talk about that year. So we started off today with Sam and Adam, who are in your role
Yeah.
now next year for 50. And so they're at the beginning of that curve, just trying to get their head wrapped around what's going on. You guys are coming to now the close of your role.
Yeah.
So as we sit here, a year removed from you guys getting asked to do this, where like has it met your expectations? Has it exceeded? Do you feel like the vision you had a year ago is where we landed? Like, what's your kind of takeaway now looking back over the last year?
I say a year goes really fast.
Yeah, it does.
And I, you know, as I think as engineers, we become engineers of time. So when you think you have a year to do something,
All of a sudden, it's like July. Yeah.
so I mean, I think there was, and Brad, I think there was some, or there still is excitement, and I think I think what our vision was a year ago to what, you know, this pretty on par. You know what I'd like. I think I wish. I think what Brad and I are really enthused about is the outreach to the high schoolers, to the vocational
Yes,
schools, and bringing more of that into and volumetrically making that a commonality at these conferences. You know, and that's where I still want to stay involved with DFI49 is pushing that initiative. I said DFI and yeah.
So, and obviously you are in the committee, right? You're gonna be on the committee with Chris and I on the student engagement,
Mhm.
right? That's awesome.
Yeah.
So what is the feeling like right now for you guys, being day 3, slowly coming to an end?
Aside from exhaustion.
Yes,
I'm
okay,
not
exactly. So because it's like, okay, so things are going extremely well. I think this has been very successful. You have a few hours today, the morning tomorrow, and then it's done.
I think it's like over the holidays when your family's around for like all
just
week,
have to be on.
all
You have
week,
to be on the
all
whole
week
time.
long, and then you're like, you start thinking about, I kind of can't wait for them to leave.
Yeah, right.
I thought you were gonna go with like, I'm gonna miss it. I got great.
I'm gonna
memories."
miss it.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
exactly.
miss it. I'm gonna miss it. But I'm also.
But I needed to go. Yes.
You gotta go,
Yes.
but you can't stay here.
And I'm being honest, you know.
No, but it's cool. What about for you?
Well, so I'm thinking back to, again, when we set up the theme for this conference, water and transportation. And the fact that, we had a very compelling, presentation this morning from Mr. Ed Belk.
Yes.
He went over a lot of very interesting projects and, looking across the room and the people that make up DFI and the people that were really asking some hard questions to Mr. Belk about where's the Corps of Engineers going, on certain projects and improvements in technology, improvements in how the projects are delivered, either contractually or even lessons learned from the hard construction. I really saw an appetite from the audience today about, what are we doing to advance the lessons learned, the
Yeah.
best practices, the things that really help the manufacturing, the engineering, and the contracting to get these projects done.
Yeah.
We've been talking about sustainability. We've been talking about water availability. All of this is coming back full circle to the theme, the vision that we laid out when we started this a year ago. And so having those conversations and hearing those good questions really triggered some good discussion points I think that all the committees can take back and work on
Yeah.
over the next year.
You gave a really good elaborated answer. You know what was my answer when I was chair? I just remember like the last day when everything started moving and the rooms start getting empty. I'll give you a parenthesis. So for 5 years of my life, I was doing my PhD, my master and PhD at the University of Pittsburgh. And I was not on a basement, not on a sub basement. It was like the basement of the sub basement. It was like 3 floors down.
No daylight.
On a soil slab, no light, no daylight, no carpet, no nothing, just dust. So I developed since those days a true love for like these open spaces, carpets, windows, right? And all that stuff. And I just remember the feeling in DC, when we finished our conference. And I just looked like the empty rooms, right? Like the empty rooms, and the woods, they were taking the woods out. And you see the open space. And at that point, you realize this is done. Because like, even though right now you're thinking day 3, you still feel that there is more stuff that it needs to be done on the event and you are not done. But the moment that you see that everyone here leaves, they take all the advertisement, then it's like, well, it's done. It's completely done. And I just remember a huge feeling of satisfaction, you know what I'm saying? Of saying like, and I have a good friend that lives close to DC. So I drove after that and I went to his house and we opened a couple bottles of wine. And, we just stayed there for a while. And to me, it was like relaxing and saying, this is a great memory that I'm going to have. Friendships that I did with Chris, and other people. And it's just that satisfaction that you felt that you were a key part of something big. that it went well, and it's a huge satisfaction and rewarding feeling. So
Yeah.
I truly hope that tomorrow, that's gonna be for you.
I guess that's what I was trying to get at with the
Yeah.
family. And once your family leaves that door, even though you're kind of like looking forward to it, once they're
Yeah.
gone for like an hour, you miss them. And
Yeah.
it's like that empty feeling.
It's,
you know what I mean?
but it's also a good
Yeah.
feeling. It's not like you go sad, right? It's,
No, yeah, yeah.
you feel like, I remember booking the empty rooms, and like I was really excited, right? Because it's like this happened and it will always stay with me in my life. So it's understanding that this cycle is closing, and then obviously immediately it's like, okay, time for starting another one, right?
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully in between, you guys will at least be able to take the rest of the week off. You
Yes,
know?
yes. it will be awesome.
Yes.
Oh, it's
So-
been fun. It's a lot of energy. So
Absolutely.
when there's energy around you, it
Yeah.
it
It's a
translates.
lot
That
of-
is something
a
about
lot
this.
of energy.
So it's hard to be worn out when there's energy around
Yeah,
you.
you get all the adrenaline and the excitement.
Yeah,
right?
and hopefully you guys have experienced this, but one of my takeaways of being, the program chair in DC with Hannah was the amount of people that I feel like went out of their way during those
Oh,
couple
yeah.
days
Yeah.
to tell me how well they thought the conference was going and that they appreciate it. And so like that
Yeah.
was like a thing to kind of end the week on, where it was like, okay, that just, it felt like it made all the effort that goes into it worth it, you
Yes.
know?
The affirmation has definitely been there. for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah,
We've
yeah.
had several people, both yesterday and today, come to us saying, thank you for the topic. Thank
Yeah.
you for the
Yeah.
theme. Thank you
Yeah.
for really making this a success.
That plaque, right? The plaque that you get after you are the chair, right? Like the committee, like the technical chair or the conference chair. That plaque means a lot. I have mine, like
I got it on
conference that I was
right above my,
conference,
right
yes.
above my desk.
And
Yep.
I see them, and it always brings a smile to my face. You know what I'm saying? It's just, it's a cool.
It was
thing.
special. I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah,
like,
it's very nice. It's very
Didn't
nice.
expect
And I have like, and I have the picture with Chris and Hannah, the three of us with our plaques. And I mean, it's great memories, and that will stay with you forever. And then you come to these conferences after and you still enjoy a lot, and you see things from a different angle. And
Yeah.
it's all about appreciating it.
Excellent. Well, guys, we
Thank
we
you very much.
appreciate you
Yeah.
hanging.
thank
We
you.
appreciate the flexibility. We know we're running late today. Not that that's anyone's fault. We're just the whole,
It's okay.
yeah.
It's
So
all
we appreciate you
personal.
joining us.
Questions?
Absolutely. All right.
Thank you, Sebastian.
All right. No, thank you.
All right. All right. You gonna grab Rudy?
All right.
Hey, thank you. All right.
I'll move my chair.
All right. Excellent. Yeah, we'll just put that one over there. We're done with Rudy. Rudy's last. Good.
Good bucks.
Okay. Hey, man.
Hello.
How are you?
Long time no see.
Long time no
Sebastian.
see. So
Very nice seeing you.
we had a few people join us yesterday that we kind of said, you know what? We don't even need to have you introduce yourself because
People that need no badge is the way
you
that we
need
say.
no introduction. Rudy Frizzy with Langen. I think we're going to start off with, obviously the high congratulations for your award today.
Well, I appreciate that. It's a great organization, and
Yeah.
when you're with a bunch of people who you like being around, it's great. But to be recognized by an organization of a bunch
Yeah.
of people who you really like and being around, it's even better.
It makes it better.
So
Yeah.
it's just awesome. So, but thank you for the good words. And as I said earlier, a lot of people have reached out
Mhm.
on the side, and try to get back to all of them.
Yeah.
When you say that,
It's
it's like,
hard. It's
I
like-
haven't replied to your email.
So that's my catch-all in case I didn't reply to your email.
Yeah,
Yeah.
correct,
Or
correct,
your
correct.
message or your call or something like that, but it's really cool. It's just a really great bunch of people.
No, and I mean, you said I was listening to, when you were up accepting the award. I mean, to have Dave here,
Yes,
to
that
be able to
was
present
super.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, you guys, I remember being like, my employee number was like 300 something. And then for you guys to be up there talking about, we're at like 1,700
Oh my gosh.
people now in the different offices and the everything.
It's
So
exciting. Yeah, it's really cool.
I thought that was neat for Dave to be able to be here to
Yeah,
do that
for
today.
sure, for sure. I had to share the comment about, how do you get Dave Cockle, the president of Langen, to come to an event like this? And, he's got a lot going on, but
Yeah.
as I said, he's a huge Yankee fan, and I knew that if I had something to do with the Yankees, he would want to show up. And he did. He didn't let me down until he found out it wasn't really the Yankee he thought it was, but that's okay.
He low key pays attention to a lot of things, right? Like I did director's cut with Brad probably about 4 years ago.
Okay.
And we were talking New York sports. It was it was released right before 9/11. So we went from some heavy stuff to, and I went on a, rant about how Derek Jeter is like the most rated athlete in New York
Oh,
history. And I get a text
so-
from Dave at like 11 p.m.
Okay, now I have to interrupt this podcast. In case people didn't notice, Chris is streaming the Mets Phillies game
Yes.
right here.
We have him
And for him to be that chipper with the Mets down
down 1-0. Yes.
is really a testament
Yes, to
to
keep the smile and excitement.
Chris's ability to kind of
Yes.
I'm
separate.
compartmentalizing.
He's doing
That's
a
it.
fantastic job. So well done, Chris.
So, no, I appreciate that. I'm still looking forward. We had Matt Conti on earlier, who's also a big Mets fan. So we have, after we come back and eliminate Philly, we're gonna meet for some champagne
Okay.
down in the bar.
All
That's
right.
that's
Okay,
the
well-
plan.
Well, good.
So, all right, let's go back to the start.
Oh,
That's
So,
it.
okay.
Rudy has an
Okay.
awesome story to tell. So
Well,
let's
do.
go back to the beginning. Like where did you grow up, and how you got
my
into
gosh.
engineering, and how you got
Oh,
to
my gosh.
Langan, and everything else in between.
Wow, it's
I know the story because I hear it through a bottle of wine. I'll tell you how,
Oh,
but
yeah.
let's hear it again.
wow. Well, I'm going to tell you a different story. How about
All
that?
right, all right. Surprise me.
No, so I mean, for me, it's always been I've always wanted to be outside doing different things, and so growing up, I had everybody. You had the stock jobs, you deliver papers,
Yep.
you cut lawns, you do all this stuff outside. I always liked it. My grandfather was a operating engineer,
Okay.
and so I was mostly raised by my grandfather, and he was one of those people who, back in the Depression, they were going from job to job,
Yep.
working on these different projects. And his expertise, he was mechanically inclined. He came from, emigrated from Italy. All my grandparents came. I'm second generation. So he came over here and he worked, and he found a way to keep himself busy working on these different projects from Depression. So, which is cool. But the thing was, so I would always hang out with him, and he was always breaking something and fixing it, and breaking something and fixing it,
Yep.
fixing something and fixing something again.
Right.
And that was really, really cool. So I always liked tinkering, with things. And then cutting to the chase, I mean, it was I wanted to be a civil engineer, but geotechnical was not really in the realm. So I go to Ohio State, and
We won't hold that against you.
I think it's awesome. Says the guy from You Don't.
Look, we're not talking about football right now. That's all we're talking about.
Virginia Tech,
That's it.
listen, by the way, one bond that we both have is I think you guys got ripped off against Miami. It should have been a touchdown. You guys should have won the game. So just want to, we have more in common than you think. So,
Yes.
um,
More than
so-
DFI.
yeah.
Yes, unlike-
So anyway, so Ohio State, it was I had a great prof over there, TH Wu. He was I was work study. I'm working through my way through Ohio State, and I was like, these geotechnical classes are kind of cool. So I just hop on. I volunteered for a lot of stuff. So
Sure.
he was doing a lot of ODOT work where they were
Okay.
monitoring embankments, and they always needed somebody to go with them to gather.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
I'll go.
More bodies.
And it was so much easier back then because you didn't have to sign waivers.
Yeah,
You're
yeah,
cli-
just show
you're
up.
you're
Yeah.
climbing up and down the hills and everything
Yeah.
like that. And it was no problem. I really liked being outside. And it was then I worked for Corps of Engineers when I was at Illinois. I
Yep.
worked for the Ohio DOT when I was at Ohio State. And just great experience, perspective. And then
So, okay, so
Like it.
Ohio State, you do all these things, and then you decide to go for graduate school,
yes,
right? Right after your bachelor.
right.
Okay, and
Yep.
then you do your I guess you went in Illinois. Who was your advisor there?
So Ed Cording was my advisor at U of I, and I was just talking to some other fellow Illinois Mafia folks out here,
That's it.
and we were just comparing notes. And the one thing I learned, what did you learn from Ed Cording? And
Yeah.
Ed's still active, I believe, and he, I was like, what'd you learn? Monitoring, instrumentation.
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
just
yeah,
such a
correct,
well-known
correct,
guy. Well, full disclosure, what I learned from Ed Cording was how to stack paper. Because Ed, you go into Ed's office and it was immaculate. And he had everything stacked and all over the place. And I'd sit talking with Ed, and he would something thought would come across his mind, and he would say, he'd look at one stack and he pulled this one piece of,
Mhm.
I'm like, he got it every time. So what I would do every time I go in his office, I'm like, I'm gonna see how many questions I can ask him and see how many times he gets it right on the first try. with
That's it.
the paper. He nailed it every time. So I learned how to stack paper from headquarters.
No, man,
Yeah,
that's great.
what a great guy, what a great person. Just a really neat person to know. Great experience. So yeah, Illinois was
Yeah.
great. And I went right from Ohio State to Illinois. Things were different then. It was the economy wasn't that great, but I will tell you, some of the
Mhm.
fellow grad students who I learned a lot from were the students who had come back to school
After working.
after working.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And those are the people, those are the students. I was like, wow, these people really,
Yeah.
they're asking smart questions. They're
Correct,
smart
yeah.
people. They were a lot of help to me
Okay.
as a student that was kind of going through. Now, like I said, I'd worked for ODOT and I was actually part-timing for Corps of Engineers while I was at Illinois. So I was getting a little bit of that.
Yeah, little.
But
taste,
having these
yeah.
people that had been out there was just really cool and really helpful.
Yeah, we had a similar dynamic to that when I was at Virginia Tech. There was a bunch of us that had been working for a while and
Yes, yes.
come back. And it's kind of, grad school gets put in perspective for you when the 4 months before you get there, you were driving piles with a flashlight for 85 hours a week
Right.
in Newark. Suddenly studying doesn't seem that hard
Yes.
when
yes.
you get there. You
Yeah,
know?
exactly. And then what are you going to do with all this free time that you have?
Yeah. We'd be in the lab by 7. We
Yeah.
would do our work in between classes and at 3
Yeah.
o'clock. So we ended up going to the bar a lot, but I mean, that's
Yeah. Well,
neither
that's,
here nor there.
well, I heard that that's part of the calculus. James Johnson
Yes.
at lunch said that's part of the calculus, man. That's what
Yeah.
makes it all work. So it's
All right,
it's
but
good.
going
Yeah.
back into the story.
Okay,
So,
yes.
all right, so you finish your graduate student in Illinois, and then what? You said, okay, I want to go, and obviously inspired by your classmates too. You want to go and do practical stuff, right? You want
Yes,
to work in
yeah.
and Langan is the first company that you go, or you have?
So I left Illinois, graduated from Illinois, and I started working at Langan. And I said it at our earlier today. It's Langan is a unique firm in that I remember sitting with Bernie Langan, and Bernie said to me, he says, the firm exists to help you get you where you want to go in your career. And it kind of caught me off guard because I always thought that companies needed people to succeed. But what Bernie was really, I think, genius about is that he recognized that if people are successful, then your firm,
company will be
your firm will be successful as
Yeah.
well. And and that always stuck with me. And as I also mentioned, with Langan, I've been able to go everywhere I've ever wanted to go by staying in one place. I mean,
Yeah, correct.
I've been all over the world for the firm working
Yep.
on different things. And
Yeah.
part of that's DFI. I mean,
Mhm.
I tell you what, I think I was lucky enough to be working at Langan and also to be involved with the DFI.
Let's go into that.
Both in their infancy. I mean, I was really
Let's
lucky.
go into that because
yeah,
how
really lucky.
DFI started for you? Like,
Well, for
like who brought you into DFI? What was your birth?
Yeah, so my first DFI experience was looping in back at courting. So I graduated from UI, and 1989, Ed was speaking at a DFI meeting in Baltimore,
Right.
and so I didn't ask anybody if I could go, and that was the cool thing about Langan. Is the cool thing about Langan. It's I just said, "Hey, I'm going," and Bernie's like, "Okay, go ahead." So I
Make
so
sure you have your billable hours.
Yeah,
But yeah, go ahead.
well, you know what? It all worked out. And
Yeah.
so I hop in my car and I drive down to Baltimore and I see Ed Courting. And not only did I see Ed Courting, so it's a DFI meeting, and there weren't, I mean, it was the organization had started about a decade before that, and it was kind of getting its legs.
Yeah.
But so it was cool
So
to catch up
what
with
year
Ed.
is this?
1989.
Okay.
So the cool thing about it was I caught up with Ed, which was really neat. But the other cool thing is he's like, well, let's sit down at the lunch break together. So I sit down at lunch at the table, and it's myself, Ed Courting, and it's Clyde Baker and George Osterberg.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, I'm a stock staff.
Yeah.
I'm a stock,
here,
I'm
yeah.
a stock staff engineer. I'm like, I don't belong here. So it's like, oh, meet George Osterberg, and this is Clyde Baker. I'm like, oh, that's cool. And
That's cool, yeah.
Osterberg is this really bubbly type of person, and
Yeah.
Clyde had both fantastic people. Clyde had a great personality as well. More of the Quaker, but still just a very what was really cool about it was these folks, you know, Osterberg was like, hey, I'm a professor at Northwestern.
Yeah.
Or Clyde Baker, I'm, you know, this big wig at STS. It's like, they're like, hey, sit down. What do you want to talk about?
Yeah.
And it's like, this is where I want to be. That
Right.
I found my home in organization.
That is, I'll do a parenthesis here because
Yeah.
this is awesome to hear you saying that. And I never hear you saying this, but that is exactly my experience with you. Because when and that's awesome that you can, I mean, I can see in your personality that you were inspired by that. And then you made it part of your own personality. So I don't know if you remember, but when I met you in person, it was on a winter planning meeting in San Diego, in La Jolla. I was flying from Pittsburgh, you know, and it was I don't know, like a 5-hour flight or whatever. I landed, I went to the hotel. It was already pretty late, right? And I go and I enter the restaurant. It was very dark. In my defense, it was very dark. There was a fireplace. And then there were like some people there. And it was my first winter planning meeting. So they were all the committee chairs and trustees. And I knew a lot of people by name, but not by image,
But,
right?
yeah, right.
Because I was the biggest nerd of the DFI magazine. And I still do. And I still read it back to back. So, you know, so I have no idea who's there, right? And then I'm getting there and I'm a little shy. Hard to believe, but I am.
Hold on. He said he was shy.
Yes.
Yeah,
So-
we're getting
Yeah.
kind of
And I was
shoulder
tired.
shrugs here.
And I was tired.
Our producer disagrees.
And I
Okay,
was
but
tired.
go on.
Right? So, and I was tired.
digress.
So I kind of took a second because you see like all these people, they have, you know, some alcohol going on next to the fireplace and they're drinking. I'm like, oh, they clearly having a great time. And here I am just crashing the group, right? Which again is my first winter planning meeting. And then Rudy was there, but I didn't recognize who he was. And he was the first one to say, hey, just come and sit here, right? And I sit there and like, hey, you want to drink some of this? And we start talking. I have no idea who he is, what a legend he is on DFI. It's just this dude that is nice,
Yeah.
right? And we talk for hours and we talk about DFI and the good things going on DFI. He was asking me more questions about me than I
Yeah.
was asking about him,
Yeah.
right? And, you know, and then all this, and I think Paul Axtell was there and
Oh, yeah.
yeah, I mean, like different people were there and we have a great time.
Yeah.
And then at the end, I say, okay, dude, like, again, no idea. So I'm like, dude, I'll see you tomorrow, right? Like the winter planning meeting goes for a couple of days. And then he said, no, unfortunately, I can only be in the morning because I have to go to like these projects and all that. And I literally told him like, wow, dude, like you are like big shit, right? You know, like you are. Then he told me his name. I was like, yeah, you know, and I start connecting. Like, okay, so I was like very impressed, right? And I said, well, thanks for the time tonight. And then we shake hands and I went to my room, right? And then I'm thinking, like, man, this guy sounds like big deal. And I go to the website, right? And I look him up on Langan. My wife was working at Langan at that time.
Yeah.
So I look him on Langan. It's like, you know, boom, big legend, right? And I start like creeping and going out. So like on DFI and all the websites. So I texted my wife, right? At like a very late night. And I was like, I think I just met Rudy in a really friendly way. And then she like called concerned, she's like, you cannot like, you know, like, she was like, you mentioned you are my husband, please no. Like, you know what I'm saying? Please don't make me look bad or anything like
Well,
that. So
I have to tell you, time has definitely mellowed, you know, because I'm sure there are people that I've come across now. They're like, oh, you're a lot different than you were 20 years ago. So
yes, well, I mean, I think
So,
that's the
in
part.
full disclosure, you know, we all evolve.
Well,
So I'm glad you caught me on a good day.
I mean, I could speak from the position of having been a staff and entry level staff engineer when you were a principal. And like one thing that always struck me was like, I'm like, man, this guy's a machine, right? You walk by your office and you were doing it and the discipline and doing this, and then you're here. And then it was like, you know, it was just like, how does this guy do this? You know what I mean?
Appreciate the thought. That's awesome. Hey man, you know what? We heard it today during that presentation, which was, I thought
Yeah.
was really cool. It's just like, we all got it in us.
Yes,
you know,
Yeah.
yes,
And,
yes.
and it's just a matter of, I guess our job is to try to get each other to recognize that.
Yes,
You know,
absolutely.
and hey, however you do it, just recognize it and know you got it in you.
Yeah.
Good things will happen. So
So, all right,
it's
let's
awesome.
go through a quick recap. So DFI, you entered DFI and then you literally did everything, right? I mean, you were
Oh
in
my gosh.
committees, you did all
Yeah.
that, trustee, you end up being
But it's not,
the
it was,
president.
it's easy, you know, when it's fun, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
that's exactly.
great people. I mean, I was lucky. I feel luck is part of the process because I happened to be in places at times that were fortuitous. And, you know, at the time we were doing a lot of work on RCAS and Place File. I was on the RCAS Place File committee. You know, Kirk McIntosh, one of the key guys that laid a lot of groundwork with that. You know, Tracy Bretman, and they're still friends. And, you know, those guys really laid a lot of groundwork, and that technology was just starting to become more and more advanced.
Mhm.
And we started doing these seminars, and really the
Yes.
model for DFI, we would do an RCAS seminar, and it's really about DFI is educational, right? I mean,
Yes,
it's really
correct,
about
correct,
educating folks. So we'd go to these different parts of the country that had never seen this technology, and it's really cool looking back to see how, we were out putting ourselves out there, putting the organization out there in educating folks. And that's really, it's not advocating, it was educating.
It's okay.
Right.
And that's what
Correct.
we do. We educate people. I would always start the discussions. My job as geotechnical consultant, don't take this the wrong way, is to take things off of piles, right?
Yeah.
Clients just want shallow foundations and build a building, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So when we do deep foundations, it's gotta be the right project
The
for
right
it.
project.
Yeah.
And that's what was cool coming from the DFI perspective,
Uh-huh.
which was, hey, our role is education, and that really, a lot of people could snuggle up to that.
I mean,
It's
like-
it's the education, but it's making the connections with the people to come up with the right
Right.
solutions for your clients,
Yeah.
whatever that right solution is.
Right. Yeah, for sure. So anyway, it's cool
Mhm.
to have these, we had great committee, and just the whole notion of a committee that is with people that want to advance something.
Advanced, yeah.
They want to
Yeah.
advance it. They're bought in on it. They're excited, and they do something.
Yeah.
We all are on do committee work, and let's be frank, there's a few people on committees that do the bulk of the work.
Yeah.
And thank goodness for those folks. And I know at DFI committees, that number is bigger because as volunteers, the organization,
More people are excited.
Yes.
yeah, and the organization does a great job of making things happen and get done. So as a volunteer, you're there because you have a passion for it, but you also want to see something, an accomplishment come out of it,
Of
a
course, yeah.
document, a white
Like
paper,
one
something.
paper or something.
And DFI has always, in my experience, has always recognized it and seen it as something that
Given a
great for the
a
members. and-
platform. Yeah, I mean that's like I think right. 'Cause
Yeah.
we all kind of went through this weird thing with the pandemic where
Mm.
people weren't really traveling. You're at home, and a lot of I think back. Nicholson, Menard, everyone's shifting and doing these webinars and doing this
Right.
stuff. And so you get involved in stuff, but we all start out in different things. We're in GI and there's DFI and there's
Yeah, yeah,
ADSC
correct.
and there's all these things that we've been talking about. And what struck me over the last 5-6 years as my involvement with DFI has increased was if you got a good idea and you have enthusiasm for making something happen, the answer is generally like, all right, knock yourself out. I mean, this stuff.
Well,
we're
we
doing
are sitting
the
here
plan.
because of your idea.
Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, it's like,
Yeah. Thank
get
goodness-
after it.
Thank goodness I got out of the way, because this is not my skill set at all. But that's really, as an organization, you see people that are
Yeah.
dialed in and motivated like you guys are, and you're passionate about it. It's like, go for it. And it's great things that come out of it.
So
But
on-
thank
on-
you, both of you.
No, no,
for doing
thank
this.
you.
Is
But
awesome.
going back
This
to
is
you,
awesome.
so
No, I think, well, I think, I remember, I don't remember what year it was that you were president, but I remember like,
Mm.
it was like such a source of pride for Langen that like
was that like 2000?
Rudy's our,
So
DFI president.
Well, here's the deal. When that happened, when I became president, so James Johnson had some really good words for Mike
Yes.
Wysocki today at
Uh-huh.
at luncheon, and just how Mike did a fantastic job of navigating
Navigating through,
DFI
yeah.
through the pandemic. And,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
takes a lot.
Yeah.
Mike had a business to run. He had stuff to do, and he still helped DFI and led DFI, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
Well,
Yes.
my context was the Great Recession.
Yes,
I
that's-
was,
Yeah.
I was president of when all markets are crashing.
People were getting laid off all
People-
over the place.
It
Yeah.
was just, it was tough. And I just remember saying, oh my gosh, what am I doing here?
Right.
And what got me through that, and maybe Mike has the same story, but I remember what got me through that were a couple of things. One was I would talk to people at DFI meetings,
Mhm.
and they would tell me that it's tough out there. It's
Mm-hmm.
really tough out there. But if something's going on in our world, we're going to find out about it at this event.
That's true.
Right.
And I was like, wow, that's really cool, because their DFI is filling a niche that's really important to the members. And the second thing people would tell me would be whether we're competitors or friends, we're in a place where we all can get together,
Yeah.
and put that aside and just really learn together, enjoy each other's company.
Yeah.
And those are the two things that got
Mhm.
me through that whole presidency, because it was tough. Stuff out there. I mean, budgets were tough. People's businesses were being challenged, but knowing that it was a place where people really wanted to be with colleagues, and to find out about business and do more business was perfect. So
So the,
got me
the,
through it. Thank goodness.
Yeah.
all of this, I mean, because I think part of what is fascinating also in your career on DFI is that you did it all. You are the president, and then obviously you identify it's time for others to keep doing and keep building.
Mhm.
But then you have your transition towards the trust fund, right? And the
Yes.
education trust fund, and you have done a lot of great things there. But how was that transition, and what and how rewarding has that been for you? Because every time that I see you on the reports and all that, it's truly a passion that you have
Mhm.
to help these and scholarships and expanding them and all that.
Well, we were all there, right? I mean, we all needed help through college. I mean,
Mhm.
I worked through college and,
Mhm.
I know that, this makes a difference. It's the kind of stuff that makes differences. I know when I go back to Ohio State and we'll give out scholarships or, or Illinois as well, you sit at tables with these students and
Yeah.
they're all mini MacGyvers. You know, you
Yeah,
figure-
correct,
you
correct,
figure these
exactly.
people, you
That's
sit
the
them
perfect
down
description.
and I don't say anything and I'll sit there and they're creative,
Mhm.
they're innovative, and like, oh my gosh, the future we're in good hands because they're
Yes,
people
Yeah,
out there.
absolutely.
So that's the thing that really gets me motivated for the trust
Yeah.
because, gosh, we just have to find ways to
Yeah.
get those folks to our industry
Yes,
because
I agree.
there's some smart people out there and it's really exciting. As I said, we do a lot right now. We
Mhm.
have some very generous donors. There are folks that really looked out ahead and said, all right, we're going to make a donation to the trust that's going to help something be in place in perpetuity, which is awesome. I think what I get worked up about is just, we do a lot right now, but we could do so much more,
Yeah.
and, as I said, if everybody just gave $100, we could almost more than double the number of scholarships
Yeah,
amounts
correct,
that we give out right now. And we give out a lot right now. I
Yeah.
mean, I challenge any organization to be as, we as philanthropic as the trust is.
Oh,
DFI has
absolutely.
been.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And it's great stewardship. They're great members on the trust board.
Mhm.
They're sharp folks and, but it's really, it's a great thing. And, I just think that there's so much more we can do.
Yeah.
No,
And, our
absolutely.
work is not done.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's
No,
keep
yeah,
chipping away at
absolutely.
it.
But then moving on into today, right? I mean, we have been building the history. I mean, today you received what is by far the most important award that DFI gives, and in my opinion, probably one of the most important awards in the whole geotech industry, right?
Thank you.
I mean, I rank it pretty high, and
Awesome.
I say the same to John last year, right?
Oh,
So,
John
but
Wilson, yeah.
it's
Another Illinois guy, just
yes,
saying.
I know, and I say I could not think of any other person that deserved it,
Yeah.
like as you do, and you absolutely, that's the reason on the whole interview I wanted to build it that way, right? To
Ah,
showcase everything that you're doing. But what's your feeling? Because I'm sure it's a pretty special moment of your career, even though you have passed through
Mhm.
very exciting things. But I'm sure it has to feel awesome to see that we all recognize the work that you have done, and we all appreciate, and we all say, hey, if it's not for people like you and what you did all these years, right? Since you started in DFI, we will not be here. Absolutely. We will not be here where we are.
Help set the example for what the
Well,
rest of us are supposed to be doing.
Yes,
Okay.
exactly. So it's like, so
I
what's your
appreciate all
feeling?
that. I appreciate that. That's awesome. Thank you. Full disclosure, that trophy or that award.
Super
is
heavy.
Freaking heavy.
Yes.
And so Dave and I are up there. He wants to hand it to me and he's like, I'm thinking, are we getting punked? Is this thing screwed down to the
Yes.
table?
No,
or
no,
something?
no.
And I'm
It
thinking,
is.
this is really awkward.
Oh man,
So-
that is the
so
best
first,
story.
My
Yeah.
first reaction since you asked
Yes.
was, that's a heavy award.
Yes.
So
Correct.
that's number one. Okay. All the things I really appreciate, Sebastian, all the good words. Come on, we're not here on our own. We work hard. Yes, we do. You work very hard. Chris, you work very hard as well. But we are where we are because somebody else stepped up for us. Just like Ed Gording invited me to sit at the table with
Yes,
George
that's
Osborne and
awesome
Clyde
story,
Volker.
yeah.
Yeah, he didn't have to do that.
Yeah.
There's a
correct.
lot of things that we don't have to do, but we do.
Yeah.
And there's be that person for somebody
Yeah.
because and you do it, believe it or not. You probably don't recognize how often you do it. But being involved in this group, in this organization, gives you just more opportunities to do it. And
Yeah.
so for me, I really appreciate the award. I mean, it's really
Yeah.
it's really cool. Full disclosure, I mean, we have a lot of great people in this organization.
Yeah.
And you know what, that award is going to be given out a long time because there are a lot of really good people that still need to be recognized
Yeah,
in this
yeah.
business
Yeah.
and what they do.
It
And,
is-
and it's good. Sorry, just finish.
Yeah,
thought.
no.
It's also good for our industry that there's so many good people out there like you guys
Yeah.
doing what you're doing because man, this is important. People have to know that this is really cool stuff that we're doing.
Yeah.
It's really impactful. It's needed. And it's a great group of people to be around. So
No, and I love the moment. I always love the moment that the award is given. And obviously you are with the person that introduced you there. That is always somebody that is very influential in your career. And then like people stand up and clap. And that's the reason I always go and take a pic.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I already posted on LinkedIn and
Oh,
everything.
That's it.
Really?
Because to
Because
me,
I'm
it's-
getting all, I was full disclosure, I'm getting all these other messages. I'm like, why are people congratulating me? So you can tell how deep into social media I am.
Yes,
That's
no,
it.
no, it was
Like,
posted a second after you.
Oh,
That's it.
man, I
He's-
bet- I
he's
better
got-
get-
he's
uh-oh,
got
I got some catching up to do.
It's just that
Yeah.
energy. It's just that energy that
Oh my
you
God.
that you
That's it.
have, right? It's like that energy that you
Appreciate that.
feel on the room
Thank
at
you.
that moment. And I know you're extremely humble, but it just for 1 second you have to allow yourself to
No, I
say,
appreciate it.
"This is
It's all good.
awesome to see how my peers
Yeah.
recognize
No,
what I have done."
you said it better than I could say it.
Nah.
But it's really appreciated.
Congratulations.
And I appreciate it. So, and
Absolutely.
thanks for making it, just for folks on the podcast, the Mets are still down 1-0.
Mets are still losing 1-0.
So,
Don't worry.
but I've had a great time with you guys. Chris has been holding it together.
Yeah,
I'm trying. I'm starting to get ready to cry. We're in the 6th inning here. I don't want to do
I
that.
thought it was you were
in front
going to
of our
cry for the
millions of
happiness
viewers.
of saying Rudy getting the
If
award.
it
Now I
starts
see it
raining, is it
through.
an official game?
No, absolutely not. Well, look, man, we appreciate you bearing with us.
Thank
You know, with
Appreciate it.
being a little
Chris,
later than we
Thanks
were
for all you're
hoping
doing.
today.
Awesome. This is good. Thanks.
All right.
All right,
Well, good.
let's wrap it up, right?
We're wrapped.
4
Well,
years.
It's a
That's
wrap.
it for
4 years.
DFI 49 game day. We'll see you next year in Nashville.
With the
All right.
50-year
Helmet,
anniversary.
helmet
It's gonna be
sticker
awesome.
for Chris, helmet sticker
Yes,
for Sebastian.
exactly.
That's
You
it.
should do that.
Boom. You got to do the
You-
it's that
we have
hard
to do
hat.
that. That's
So
the
what you
best
got to
idea
do,
when I would have that.
get a hard hat and you have to award your helmet stickers.
Yes.
You know, like they do.
Every game day that we do, we put a little
we
sticker
sure
in
do.
the back.
We also, I mean, we ought to get clever. We probably need like the Washington State flag up there, you know, that's been at every.
However,
Game day, yeah.
Washington State Cougars, right? Exactly.
That's it.
Yeah.
So,
So
all right, man.
listen, I'm just the big picture guy. You guys make it all happen. Okay. So
All right. Thanks,
All
Rudy.
right, thank you.
guys, take it easy. Thanks for all you're doing.
All right.
Hey, Sebastian.
No, thank you.
And to our producer, thank you.
Yeah.